Hello, I'm Ashy. Today I have with me Wa.
I am Spartacus.
Today I have with me Spartacus. And I also have Des today.
No, I am Spartacus.
But was the real Spartacus inside us all along?
I don't know. They were Roman, so actually, probably.
Oh, okay. So previously we finished our discussions regarding Fighter. Today we are going to be starting with the quintessential healer class, the Cleric.
Yeah, and this psychopath has got a full list of all the domains in a little document here. So this is going to be probably another 2-hour video.
We might be here for a little bit. So we have here a 3/4 BAB class. They have a D8 hit die.
Wow, you are really just getting straight into this as soon as possible, huh? No preamble, no talking shit, no talking about how our day went.
We
I'm
waffle
really
too much.
Well, I mean,
we
we do
waffle
spend
too much.
I imagine the waffle is great for ASMR, but we've got a lot to cover today.
Fine. Okay.
So a D8 hit die might not sound like it's all that far removed from the D10, but you do notice the difference over time as you level up. Clerics also have a good fortitude and a good will save, which are probably the two best saving throws to be good at.
Yeah, reflex is typically just damaging spells, so for the most part, getting hit by one of them isn't the end of the world. But poor fortitude or will save can absolutely take you out of the fight.
I'm going to say just about anything and everything that's going to hit your stats, if it's negative levels, if it's instant death, is going to be a fortitude save. And if it's a will save, you're probably about to lose control of your character, and it might be instant death.
Yeah. I mean, a reflexive can be instant death if it's a big ass damage AoE, but you're normally
But
going to
again, that's
survive
still
those.
damage. That's
Yeah,
still damage.
you're normally going to survive those.
Yeah, but even if you get hit by a prismatic spray, the green one that will just fucking kill you is a full save.
Just be immune
So-
to poison forehead.
Yeah, just be immune to poison, dickweed.
So,
Who isn't immune to poison? Fucking idiot.
right? Just play Alchemist.
Anyway.
It's level. Clerics, they have a starting wealth of 46 times 10. So they, like Fighter, have a pretty good chance of having a nice chunk of change, from the start. They aren't as likely to have the Masterwork armor, but armor, shield, a weapon, a holy symbol, extra other things they might need, they will not be wanting at level 1.
I'll be honest, what you actually were going to be doing with your starting gold really does depend on what stat array you rolled. Cleric can be a full it's a full caster. Can either be
is.
the supporty, healy caster bitch, or there can be their medium bab, self-buffing, I'm going to go beat you to death with this mace kind of cleric. You need to roll pretty damn well to do both. Because you need your strength, you need your wisdom, you need your con, you need a bit of charisma. Channel's charisma, right? Pretty
Yes.
sure
Challenge
channel is-
Charisma, yes.
Channel stuff's your charisma. Probably want a bit of dexterity. But if you want to be a smashy, casty cleric at the same time, you basically need every stat you have, this, other than intelligence.
Yeah, I was about to get into that. So they're another 2 plus intelligence, modifier class for their skill points. So, without having into the priority, they're not really rolling on skills. So, their wisdom's important for casting. They need to have either good strength or dexterity if they want to use a weapon decently, depending on which weapon type they're using. They need charisma if they want their channel to be really any channels at all, like 3 plus charisma modifier.
Well, it's also the
And,
DC, especially if you're a nega cleric or you have harmful effects tied to it.
Yeah.
Then they're charisma based.
Oh, and Constitution's always nice to have if you want to be meaty and take hits, and you might see where intelligence fits here. Class skill-wise, they're rocking Appraise, Craft, Diplomacy, Heal, Arcana, History, Nobility, Planes, Religion, Linguistics, Professions as Motive, Spellcraft. They've actually got quite a good number of class skills, just no skill points to put into them. Now to get further into those, Diplomacy, Sense Motive, and Spellcraft are all pretty good ones to have. cleric with good charisma can potentially talk their party out of the situation, or use persuasion as a means to get what they're wanting. Sense motive can help the cleric and thus the party suss out intent or deception. Spellcraft is good for quickly identifying spells as they are cast, or for identifying the magic items for the party.
I mean, okay, this is all true. But if you're relying on the cleric to do all of those things and you don't have a charisma caster and you don't have an int caster, holy fuck, your party's weird.
Yeah.
You know?
Party
If
comp.
you are relying on the cleric, then
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, far too many classes that tend to have int as one of their only dump stats seem to have 2+ int modifier skills. It's pretty tragic.
Yeah, it's almost like the base class skill ranks aren't a priority for almost any of them.
Yeah.
Regardless. So, heal can also be a pretty good skill for them as well. They're wisdom based, heal's wisdom based. Heal can be used to staunch bleeding, it can be used to stabilize the dying, and you can help someone recuperate over time by like healing them twice as fast naturally. It can also assist against diseases and poisons. And if competent enough, you can take an hour to provide some non-magical healing to a target equivalent to 1 HP per hit dice, which is level.
what we're getting out of this is you're going to be pretty good at survival and heal checks.
Sure. Naturally.
And sense motive.
There are a list of knowledge skills. It's quite broad, with it being Arcana, Planes, Religion. Those will be mostly used to identify creature types, like constructs, dragons, magical beasts, for like Arcana, Outsiders for Planes, Undead for Religion. Otherwise, all these knowledge skills have their own uses, but they can easily be solved with what they can tell you about, with just a little bit of logic. Linguistics is the languages skill. It can help you deal with languages you don't know, or help you with legal documents, or sussing out forgeries, or such. Unlike most skills, every point of linguistics has an added bonus that you learn an additional language each time you invest in it. This is arguably less valuable for clerics.
Unless they want to preach in like all the languages of the land.
Unless you want to preach in every language. So, appraise as a skill can tell you the price or exact or approximate of like an object, and if you can roll well enough, you can determine if something is magical. Though, unlike spellcraft, you are not getting any properties out of that. And if your DM has intent on obfuscating value and forcing you to figure it out, then this can be a valuable skill. Otherwise, it can be a nice roleplay skill, but again, cleric skill points. You can hear that a lot.
I mean, yeah. At some point, your DM is probably going to get it into his bright idea that they really like the idea of survival mechanics and realism. So they're going to track gold weight, and then if you find a gemstone, you're going to have to appraise it for its true value. And all that nonsense. I think just about every DM will go through a phase where they basically actually just want to be playing a Song of Ice and Fire or Warhammer Fantasy roleplay.
I don't think.
I mean, let's be fair. Looking at this list and assuming an average intelligence, I imagine most clerics are going to take Knowledge Religion, Knowledge Planes, and if they don't go with Knowledge Planes as their second, they're probably grabbing Sense Motive so that they don't get lied to, or the party doesn't get lied to.
Yeah, generally.
You see, you started saying assuming average intelligence. I thought you were talking about this hypothetical DM who really wants to be playing a different system.
Oh no, that's below average intelligence. I am so sick and tired of seeing DMs be like, yeah, so I'm trying to run this superhero anime game, so how can I make these rules fit to go play a superhero game? I can recommend 3.
It's like, Mutants and Masterminds is really fucking good. Go play that. But I like D&D, so I'm going to make it not D&D.
You know?
Fuck
like,
Exactly.
Eyes.
I wonder how many people. I'm about to say, how many people are we about to upset listening to this? The answer is 0 because no one fucking listens to it.
Hey, we had like 14 views on something.
Okay.
Shit, you're right.
Not enough views to get me saved, though. Remember, I'm still kidnapped here.
Are you? Oh, I
Yep,
forgot about that.
Yep,
That's
we
the
need more
meme.
subs. Need more subs. Get
Craft
me
your
out.
profession. Like the fighter, fit in the same category being downtime activities. You know, if the cleric wanted to make items or money. Again, skill points, clerics.
Yeah, but you're a fucking cleric. You don't need to do that. You go sell spell services.
This is something you
You
can do.
go, you just go sell healing. It's a couple of what is it? How many is it? 150 GP per spell level?
I forget.
Whatever. It's a level 1 spell generally outpaces any amount of silver you're going to get from doing an actual profession. If you're a cleric of fucking, I don't know, Torag, but you're a blacksmith, unfortunately, no matter how good you are at blacksmithing, you're going to be getting more money going and just selling your fucking spell slots.
How very non-RP of you. Not very cash money.
You're a fucking cleric! You'd be going around healing stuff or mending people's fucking shit with your magic, and you would sell the spell slots.
A cleric can have a day job.
Yeah, being a fucking cleric!
No, that's what we have people like Jack to do. So the clerics can go off and do nothing, and Jack can go and preach, and
Shit,
we'll let the shamans do it.
shit, Jack's day job is cleric. She got a point.
I have a character with a complete identity crisis, okay?
Alright. So before we move on to the class features, clerics are expected to have a deity. Their deity will determine effects or limitations for most of, if not all of their class features, and the cleric needs to be the same alignment or remain at least one step on the alignment chart away in order to receive benefits from their deities.
That being said, I believe paladins and clerics do not have to follow a deity, and they can just follow an alignment, but that is a lot less common.
It's true.
Even if but a paladin also has to share the alignment. They're not within one step. They have to be the alignment of the thing.
Yes. Yeah, but I was just saying that as like things that are supposed to typically follow a deity do not necessarily have to. Like a paladin can just follow the principles of good. A cleric can just follow the principles of whatever they're currently doing.
I think clerics get a little bit more hosed by that rule than paladins, though.
Yeah, because unfortunately the chaos law, good and evil domains kind of blow.
More on those later.
Man, here's me going, you know, could I then theoretically make a cleric that follows the tenets of cocaine? Make Snowflame?
What? I don't. Probably not.
I don't know. It seems to me that you can follow a concept or an ideal, and my idea is fucking partying. Wait, no, I just play fucking I'm a Kaiden cleric then. After that point.
Yep.
I actually don't like the idea of a cleric or a paladin getting their powers from just waffling about something. Like,
I mean, you may not like it, but it do be a rule, which is why I felt it should be brought up.
I honestly much prefer the 3.5 rules for the paladin, where you could be there's a standard lawful good paladin, but then there's everything on the corner extremes: chaotic good paladin of freedom, lawful evil paladin of tyranny, chaotic evil. I don't remember what it was called.
Wow, this
I think
is
it was actually just an anti-paladin.
I
No,
believe
the paladin video.
No, but it's fucking relevant to where your divine power comes from.
Yes.
You know what? Fuck it. Never mind. Continue.
Alright. So out of the box, clerics get proficiency with simple, light, and medium armors, as well as shields, except tower shields. And they also get the favored weapon of their deity. By the way, deities have weapons they favor. You know, like Senrai likes scimitars or Gorm likes greatswords. The aura class feature. Clerics have an aura that detects as an alignment, the alignment of their deity. I.e., a neutral good cleric, devoted to a lawful good god, has an aura of good and law. Or a neutral god would have the cleric radiate an aura of, like, neutral alignment. Oh boy, spellcasting. You may have noticed on the chart, this at the very top here. So clerics don't learn spells. They do prepare spells. They choose spells from the cleric list to prepare appropriate to their level, and those spells occupy slots on a per spell basis. Ignore the +1s at the end of those numbers for now. They'll get their explanations soon. Cleric spellcasting is limited by deity alignment, in that a lawful good deity will not allow a cleric to cast chaotic or evil spells. A neutral deity just won't care.
Yeah, being a neutral cleric gives you a certain set of picks. Now, one of the big issue with it is, aside from you have to lock in whether you channel positive or negative, is that if you're if you're worshipping a neutral deity, one step away doesn't include diagonals. You can't worship a neutral deity and then go through whatever dumb shit you've been doing to chaotic evil. It's cardinal directions only. So going diagonally would be 2 steps, and then you lose your power. So yeah, a neutral deity may not care, but you need to at least adhere to 50% of the alignment charts, and don't drift into the corners if you're true neutral, because then you lose your powers.
Orisons! These are the name of their level 0 spells. They are mostly support and utility, with like bleed being probably the only offensive option, and all it does is takes a creature that is stabilized and causes them to start bleeding out. They can be prepared based on the chart and can be cast an unlimited number of times each day.
The oddest... Oh, I was going to say, the oddest thing about the Orisons is I still find it weird that they do not get Disrupt Undead.
It is kind of weird. I kind of think they should.
Absolutely.
As for the cleric's actual spell list, it's widely considered the second best spell list in the game. It is the home of all the best healing and resurrection options. It has great buffs and debuffs. It does not get good damage options early on, but does eventually get some really great options as the class progresses. And they do make it up to 9th level spells, so they are definitely a casting powerhouse.
There's also that your domains, that we will be talking about later, can also grant you spells that are not on the cleric spell list. So your domains may also give you extra features, like the animal domain just giving you an animal companion.
We will cover that soon. And while they are prepared casters, they do get a leniency for spontaneous casting. Clerics can convert a spell slot they have, other than domain spells, to cast a cure spell if good, or an influx spell if evil, depending on the alignment of the deity. Neutral deities allow for the caster to pick either cure or inflict spells, but this choice will also affect their channel energy class feature, as the two features need to match. Speaking of channel energy is an AoE heal or damage ability that is gained at first level, and it scales every odd level, starting with a d6 and gaining a d6. How it affects what is dependent on whether a cleric worships a good deity or an evil deity. If good, they channel positive energy, which can either heal living or damage undead. If evil, they channel negative energy, which either heals undead or damages living. Again, neutral can have either, and again has to match the spontaneous casting. This is kind of a bread and butter ability for clerics, being one of the few abilities the class gains as it progresses. It's a 30-foot radius burst ability. If something would be damaged by it, they get a will save to resist, and it can be used a number of times each day, equal to 3 plus charisma modifiers we discussed earlier. And its DC to be resisted if it is a damaging effect also scales the charisma modifier, with the DC being 10 plus half cleric level plus charisma modifier. Variant channel options exist, but we will get into that in another video, because instead we are now going to talk about domains.
So hey Des, Ashley was just basically talking for 3 minutes straight, and I want to see in the metrics out of who watched just absolutely stops listening at this point.
Oof.
Oof.
Sorry, buddy, but my eyes were starting to look in two different directions.
Understandable. So a cleric by default gets 2 domains. These domains must be domains that belong to your deity. They grant domain powers dependent on level, and they grant domain spells, and that can be prepared in the domain slot. That +1 slot seen on the chart is for those spells. This is the first ability to reference that a cleric can not have a deity. But they still need to choose what domains based on spiritual inclination and ability, whatever that means, and that is subject to DM approval.
It's one of those weird things where someone could be like, hey, I want my character to worship good and the sun. Can I take those domains? And when you go, well, why not just worship Sharonre? They're gonna be like, nah. No, I don't want to be like held by a god standards. And then you smack them upside the head and just...
Yeah, it's like exactly. Like you're right. 9 times out of 10 is like I can see there's a way of doing this where you effectively have a cleric who worships effectively a minor deity that they've put together themselves, and it's basically it's basically homebrew deity time. But
Yeah.
you've got to hold yourself to something.
I would think that the logical reason to not pick a specific deity is if you wanted access to a domain combination that just doesn't exist.
Sure.
Normally.
Fine.
But to be fair, at that point, I would recommend any DMs out there, make sure your cleric gives you some kind of code or rules that they will follow, because otherwise it's just one of those situations where you give them carte blanche to do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
And not really holding them to a standard because, well, it's their own standard. They made it up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say if you're not gonna hold the cleric to any standards, you may as well just go for a free for all on anything that's fucking alignment locked.
You know.
It's like, well, the monk doesn't need to fucking deal with his vow now. Nope, the paladin doesn't need to do. You can do whatever the fuck he wants. No one's held to any standard. They just do. Fuck it.
We have the lawful school teacher barbarian now.
Me looking at the serene barbarian. What was it? The serene rager? What was it? The other barbarian.
I don't know the name of this archetype, but I think I recall reading something on it at some point, and I think I understand what you're probably talking about.
My favorite barbarian archetype, even though it's not very good, is definitely that dreadnought one where you just go into completely calm anger. From the horror book.
So, subdomains, they are modifications to a domain. And they also come from deities. Looking into any given deity will give you information about what domains and subdomains that they support. We won't get into subdomains in this video, as there are so many that they will more than double the amount that we're talking about today. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the subdomains, shall we? So in alphabetical order, the air domain will come up first. Its first ability is...
What? Expanding window. Okay.
Its first ability is this cute little damage ability within 30 feet. It's nice early, but will get outscaled very quickly.
Oh, hold on. Oh, wait, you've probably pulled it up and I don't have to read it out.
Yes, I have.
Okay. I was like, hold on, you're describing something that the viewer or listener has nothing... What about if they're using it as... No, what if they're using it as second monitor content? So we're going to read it out for them.
It does 1d6 plus... It does 1d6 points of damage. +1 per 2 cleric levels. It's electricity damage. It can target a creature within 30 feet. It's a ranged touch attack. Are you happier?
I mean, it's kind of sneak attack scaling with a bit of flat. It doesn't seem to have a cap.
The 1d6 doesn't scale.
Oh.
If the 1d6 scaled, it would be great.
Yeah. Never mind, it's utterly garbage.
It's a tool early game that kind of falls off. Its second ability is like pretty ubiquitously useful, I guess. It's just it's electricity resistance. It starts at 10, it scales up to 20, level 12. And like that's not bad. It becomes immunity at 20, but I wouldn't count hitting 20. At the levels that you get the resistance, effects that would hit you would be like reasonably reduced, and possibly even massively reduced if you succeeded to save that delta damage. And
ER10? ER10 at level 6 is actually really good as far as resistance scaling goes. That's normally something you get at level 11 through other resistance means.
Yeah, or you drop a spell. Which, I mean, I think the resistor energy spells are pretty early, but no interaction, just passive. Always kind of just nice to have.
What are the domain spells? Domain spells, by the way, go into your spell list as... They're effectively free spells on top of your actual spell allocation, and they refresh every day.
Yeah. They don't enter your spell list, so you can't prepare them outside of your domain spells. But I feel like the domain spells here, they're circumstantially useful. And the majority of the spells are not native to Cleric, so that's kind of nice.
Well, Obscuring Mist, early on it can cause utter chaos if you're up against groups of things and you can take them by surprise. Now they can't see shit.
Yeah.
Windwall completely fucks arrows.
Does.
Bolts. Gaseous Form, maneuverability, and sneaky bullshit. Airwalk, fly. Control Wind. Might be able to fuck with arrows again.
Have, well, okay, so Control Winds can also hurt like large creatures or smaller, and medium creatures I think can get blown around, if it's a spell that I'm thinking of. So it's like an advanced wind wall.
And then you get to 6th level with Chain Lightning, and Chain Lightning is just fucking good.
Chain Lightning is a good spell.
Chain Lightning good. Elemental Body 4, Air Elemental, actually good. Whirlwind can actually be really good, especially if you're up against flyers. It will absolutely
scuttle any encounter with flyers. The Big Daddy Control Winds.
And then 9th level, Elemental Swarm. You fill the battlefield up with some fairly big elementals, which can also turn into tornadoes and stuff. So it's like Whirlwind, but they punch you. And they can pick monsters up and just start hurling them around and doing damage like a weird constrict type thing. If an air elemental goes into its Whirlwind mode and picks you up, it can punch you while you're inside it.
That's a bizarre thought to consider.
Did you not know that?
I was not aware of that.
Oh,
I thought
yeah,
they lost their slams.
I mean, they do lose their slams, but you take damage from being stuck inside them. They will punch you on the inside.
That's true. I knew that part.
Okay. Yeah, they will do damage to you on the inside.
So that's what you mean. Okay.
You. Yeah. So really, they're all good spells. Some more useful than others. Then you get to 6th level, and then it just becomes all good spells. Especially Chain Lightning.
Chain Lightning.
Chain Lightning is fucking good.
It's just a good spell.
It's just a good spell. I mean, it gets completely slapped off if something's got good reflex slaves and evasion, but so does everything. It's actually why, remember when Zeran, it's why he allowed the third-party spell, Black Ray of Flesh Parting. Because it basically gave you a single target, non-elemental fireball damage on something.
Nasty.
Because it was generally a niche in the arcane list. Not that arcane spells needed any more damage and needed any more help, but it was a niche that, as a standard spell, other than Snowball, it's just they're not an elemental. Fuck you. It does slashing damage.
Alright, so let's get to this animal domain real quick. I think animal domain's a good domain. You get an additional class skill in K Nature. That's not terrible, but skill points, you're probably not using it unless you are using it, in which case you're spreading your skill points then again.
Here's the thing, you might be using K Nature if you have the animal domain. Thematically, you might want it for being in the animal domain.
I mean, if you worship like Aristotle and you go animal domain, you could probably drop the religion and go like full. I'm pretending to be a druid.
It is
Ah,
pretty much.
you know what? That's a
Yeah.
good point. You are a druid cosplayer.
Yep. Well, I mean, we did that. It's that whole thing where you go druid or cleric, and then you take animal domain, and you get Zen archery, which makes your bow wisdom, and now you're a better ranger with full casting.
All right, so let's talk about these domain powers.
You get speak with animals.
It's not terrible for information gathering, at least not early.
Here's the thing. It says you can speak with animals as per the spell for a number of rounds per day equal to 3 plus cleric level.
Yeah.
That's not 3 uses plus cleric level of the spell.
No.
That's a very short conversation.
Yeah.
You don't get to talk a lot. I mean, speak with animals. The purpose of it is to ask questions, though. You can probably get your answers
Okay.
in that time. It's not a particularly long duration. Like
You find a wild boar snuffling through the undergrowth, and you use this ability and go, "Hey, sup? I need some information." And then the DM goes, "The wild boar doesn't answer immediately. He continues snuffling around in the mud for grubs and whatever, and acorns. And then eventually, once he's finished, he looks up to you. Your ability ran out halfway through this snuffling. That's why I don't like that. It should be minutes per day."
I mean, I can't argue that. I mean, I guess it makes sense for a boar. It's more interesting in what it's currently doing than talking to you.
Especially if what it's currently doing is food.
But you see my point. The second you start adding a bit of flavor and doing some descriptive stuff, it turns out whatever the fuck the thing was doing currently and then it answers you might have just timed you out. That should be minutes.
Or just not rounds. So even
Yeah.
if it was cast, it probably wouldn't be any more broken.
Yeah, sure.
But definitely usable.
You can use it as per the spell this many times a day.
The actual powerhouse ability of the animal domain is a companion, though. That's the real draw.
Yes. 4th level, you gain a service of an animal companion on the druid list. It is the equivalent of your level -3 for your effective druid level, so you kind of need boon companion to
It's
drag
begging
it back
for boon
up to your
companion.
level. Boon companion's a +4, isn't it?
It is.
So realistically, you could actually multi-class your cleric into, say, I don't know, let's say you went into fighter for proficiencies and a bit of whatever you were doing. That and your boon companion wouldn't actually hurt its progression. So boon companion and this in tandem does give you actually leeway to multi-class. At least by 1 level.
Yeah. I'm not sure how many people would take that 1 level option, but they do to get that leeway.
I mean, here's the thing. Fighter and rogues, either for skill points or for proficiencies and hit dice, a lot of people actually do that. There's a couple of other things like doing your 1 level dip to get charisma to AC, and there's lots of reasons you might be dipping.
It's mostly just that a lot of clerics might not want to delay their spell casting. Yeah, it wouldn't hurt them, though.
To
Not
be
really.
fair, most casters that are known as casters don't really like to delay their spell casting. Because that 1 level, as Amala has proved, that 1 level can really hurt.
Well, there's also the prestige classes that, say, drag your spell casting up as well.
True.
Yeah.
Then again, the boon companion's not really interacting too hard with that if you're dragging it up on a different class entirely.
Yep.
Yeah.
My point is, there's a bit of leeway if you want to do something for proficiency's sake. Let's say you rolled you've not gone maxing out your wisdom and you're more of a smash cleric. You might want to multi into fighter or something.
That is
true. That extra BAB won't hurt. The freedom to wear the heavy and wield anything just about.
I mean, quite frankly, if you're on point buy, you might be going smash cleric and doing self buff and healing that really isn't too dependent on your mental stats. So you might actually be doing a dip.
That's fair. That's fair. Because you might at that point have to actually work to get your wisdom up high enough to cast your higher level spells.
I mean, at that point, you're going to be relying on a headband to get it up to 19, I think.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Oh,
So,
speaking of, one thing we didn't notice, or you didn't mention, spell failure. Divine casters don't suffer spell failure. You can wear full plate on a cleric and it's not going to interfere with your spell casting. I know we probably mentioned this in one of the other videos, well, I'm mentioning it again now.
I don't think I've talked much about spell failure. Mostly because it wasn't relevant to cleric. Spell failure is short for
Yeah, we haven't talked about an
arcane
arcane
spell
class yet, so we
failure.
haven't really discussed spell failure.
Mm-hmm.
In any case,
D&D really doesn't want the finger wagglers to be wearing heavy armor. Divine casters, it doesn't give a fuck.
yeah. So these domain spells, they're mostly drawn from other spell lists, with like the only one available to clerics by default being.
Oh hey, it's the druid spell list light.
It is.
I think it literally is.
I mean, not quite.
You tell me what spell on there isn't on the druid spell list.
Shit. I think all of
Yeah,
them are
that's
at
right.
least on the druids.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I thought. As I said, they're mostly fucking druid spells. Yeah.
I mean,
point.
if you pick this domain, you're just cosplaying as a druid, or you're a
Kinda
druid
are.
who went. You looked over, you went, screw that not wearing metal armor. Heck you, druid, and then walked over here and decided to put on that breastplate.
Wear stoneplate like a real Chad. God.
Just take the shots to your face and heal yourself.
I do feel like the domain spells here do suffer from a little bit of the early spells are only good against animals.
Mm-hmm.
The later ones are fine.
Well, it's also suffering from the problem that it's druid spells.
I mean, is that a problem? They're not cleric spells.
I mean,
It's
I think
worse.
the biggest problem with these spells is the fact that basically each one of them is just a once per day. Because you cannot prepare any of the non-cleric spells in anything but your domain slot.
That's true.
So basically you get each one of these once per day, and some of them are kind of like, oh man, I wish I wasn't wasting my domain slot on that. Hopefully my other domain is better.
Hey, you've got full control over which particular domains you end up with.
Yes.
True.
You
But
opted into this.
But some people don't do it for the spells. Some people do it because, hey, that animal companion with boon companion can actually be kind of busted on a cleric.
Well, that's the point. That's why the spells are kind of shit. Because the power budget is in the ability here. It's the same thing with shamans and their spirits. If the abilities are really good, the spells are shit. If the spells are really good, the abilities are shit.
I think the cool
It's like-
thing about the animal domain is that if we were to talk about its subdomains, like 2 of its subdomains are basically just direct upgrades on the animal domain. They replace the first ability and they replace some of the spells with more useful ones.
Sure.
And we will definitely tell you about that in another video.
Yep.
Yeah, probably the next one.
Eh,
Probably the one directly after this.
We'll see.
So anyway, that's a small argument about the animal domain and strong opinions. Now we're on to the artifice domain, the building stuff.
Artifice domain. It offers mending at will, so it's effectively a bonus cantrip. The second ability that is on that power lets you damage constructs a number of times per day for a small amount of damage. It's very situational, but clerics may have a rough time with dealing with constructs. It might be useful in a pinch, like against a golem. The second
I don't know how I feel about that dancing weapon. At least it doesn't mandate it has to be one you're holding. It can be anybody's. So
yeah,
you
can
can
just
give.
touch it.
Yeah, but that 4-round timer is like, oof.
That's normal for
It
dancing
could-
weapons.
It couldn't even be half your cleric level.
I mean, dancing lasts for four rounds normally, so that makes sense.
Oh, consider how long a fight usually lasts. Fights never usually don't even really last a minute. You've got 4 or 5 rounds in a fight before you've dumped your load and probably murdered something, unless it's the biggest boss fight ever. So 4 rounds is actually surprisingly a long time.
It's like you're probably waddling up to the fighter, tapping their weapon, and making it dance. Not the
Yeah.
one they're
Or
holding, the one that's like their like second backup or third backup or fourth backup.
I mean,
I'm gonna be honest, by the time you're 8th level, I'm pretty sure your cleric will have something better to do than to make a sword decide to like do a little jig there.
Oh, probably.
it depends. Like in Iron Gods, June had an adamantine sword specifically to deal with constructs. There's a spell storing sword which was a shocking grasp vector. So if you do have like a collection of things, you might have a sword that's got a decent shocking grasp lined up in it. You hit dancing and then it just fucking clobbers something for you.
I mean, effectively giving the fighter kind of double attacks is probably not a bad place to be, especially when your fighter is a slayer that has decided they're not drawing their adamantine longsword to fight the construct that is resisting their primary weapon because
Okay,
it turned off the magical enhancement.
look. After a point, it became look, Hashi. If I had switched the adamantine sword from Scarlet against Bastion, that would have meant Bastion had won, and I wasn't letting him win. So I was going to brute force straight through him with something that was doing no damage. And by God, I eventually did so. No,
And
wait, I think I
died
got
twice
killed.
in the process.
I did die twice in the process, but it's fine, because I didn't give up. I did not let him win. I won the mind game.
Sure you did, buddy. Sure you did.
I love how you brought that up, just very strictly directing that at me.
Yes.
I'm being called out.
It's a great use case for dancing weapons.
The front line is a fucking idiot. Yeah.
Yes.
True. It is the definition of, alright, I guess I'll do it myself.
Yeah. So the artifice
Anyway,
spells, they're mostly like
we've got
utility.
yeah, but we've got to tell them what they are. There's animate rope.
You can tie
You
somebody
animate
up.
a rope. You can tie somebody up. I mean, animate rope's got some case uses like snake slithering around stuff and tying itself into places that you're having difficulty getting to. Like
I mean,
there are
logistically, yeah, sure. I mean, like, Zaisha specifically made great use of animate rope, fishing people out of the drink when they fell overboard.
Always nice to have some animate rope to do that.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
I just DC'd, I think.
Yeah, welcome back.
Don't DC.
I was talking. Damn. I was pointing out that you used animated rope on the ship's rigging to start dragging people out of the water after we got thrown overboard.
Yes. We also have wood shape and stone shape. They do exactly what they sound like they do. We've got minor creation, which is probably going to be replaced by fabricate for most uses. Minor creation and major creation, they can create an object. But, like, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that object only exists for a limited amount of time. I guess the best use cases are to just create poisons.
I mean, yeah, minor creation sort of has that thing where you go, ho, I'm going to use, I don't know, wall of stone to make a crucible to surround the enemy, and then I'm going to fill it with fucking Sasson leaf. And then they just start melting, because nothing says you can't just fill it with liquid plant matter, and it happens to be a poison. There's no value limit. So, yeah, it's one of those spells that it's like, well, if you could use it creatively, it's actually great. But you don't even need to use it creatively, you just need to know what exists. You need to know what's either an alchemical substance, a magic substance, or a mundane substance. At that point,
Yeah. Wall of Iron can be pretty decent for battlefield control. As it turns out, spawning a wall in the middle of an enemy formation can disrupt them pretty good. And if you can knock it over on top of some enemies, it's even funnier.
it is even funnier. I mean, you can do the same with major creation. You can summon a thwomp.
Major creation takes way too long to summon a thwomp, though.
True.
It's like a lot of examples of major creation or minor creation, you're not using them in combat because you have to spend 10 minutes casting the spell.
Damn right.
And then there's statue, which lets you choose to be a statue as like a free action.
We don't talk about statue.
we've had, we had a bad experience with statue,
Statue
but a
can-
lot of it is spoilers for Rise of the Rune Lords. So I wanna tell you all about the misadventure that really pissed off one of our players while I was giggling with my ass off.
Yeah.
Statue.
Come on, it was very funny.
Oh,
Great way
it
to
was
give-
hilarious.
Great way to give your fighter hardness when it's not their turn, as long as you're accepting that they're not making AOs for you. Also, don't get exploded because you're made of stone.
You know, it'd be really funny when with Jack's metal domain and the statue has to be an iron statue. Imagine if I'd have used that in Rust Monsters.
Dear God. Dear God.
like,
Yeah, you should do that. That'd be funny.
It'd be a terrible idea. Even I won't make decisions that bad.
Okay, so there's prismatic sphere as well. Do you like prismatic wall? A prismatic sphere is basically a personal bubble of prismatic wall. It's a pretty good defensive buff. You can pass through it, it doesn't affect you, though it is also an aura that is on you. The wording of the spell and how it functions is a little bit odd. You can't really cast through it because it affects your ability to cast through, but because you can move through it, you could technically move out of it to cast. But it's still also an aura on you, so it's the spell is weirdly weirded, but can be pretty good defensively.
Let's have a look. Does it still do the...
It's prismatic wall, but a bubble around you.
You know, that green poison's not very strong. Prismatic spray definitely has the better, Never mind, initial effect death.
Initial effect death.
Wait, frequency, one round for 6 rounds. Initial effect, death. Second effect, constitution. Cure 2 consecutive rounds. How? If you fail the first one to get your 2 consecutives?
If you fail the first one, you're probably dead.
Yeah.
Because the initial effect is still death.
Yeah, but even if you succeed it needs 2 consecutive fort saves to succeed.
Yeah, but they don't have to worry about the initial effect anymore. On the next turn, they get to see if they take con damage.
Yeah. I just found it funny. It's 2 consecutive saves. First round, death. And like, if you need 2 saves to do it, doesn't the initial effect usually start ticking? Or does it just hold it for twice?
I think if you
forgot.
pass the initial save, you don't have to worry about taking con damage that round. Is that what you're asking?
Or in this case, dead.
Or in this case, die instantly.
Look, it's midnight and I was trying to process what the fuck I was reading.
Prismatic
Because,
Sphere is a funny spell.
Prismatic anything. Prismatic is a funny spell.
You know, that's also fair.
It is definitely one of those spells where you're like, oh, I'm not too worried about the effects. I'm immune to this. I can resist this. And then it's like, you rolled green. And then everybody clenches.
Oh no.
I'm just remembering that one time you killed the party's cleric.
I killed Shaz with it, yeah. It
Alright,
was
so-
one of those situations where, as a player, I knew there was a trap there. As a character, I didn't, so I bumblefucked forward and triggered it.
For
And
the
then
bits.
immediately... What is it? I think I got 1 killed and one person petrified.
There's
There's
I'm
something
trying to
like that.
remember. Oh shit, I was petrified by it.
Yeah, I got... One got greened and you got petrified. Then you got purpled.
When you have enough time to give a goofy thumbs up. Hey, at least I was a small creature, so carrying me out wasn't the worst thing in the world. But damn it, Wah.
I'll be honest, for the bitting a prismatic fucking anything is a risky venture. It's just... That's my
Yeah.
life advice.
For the bit. TPK.
It's prismatic spray. It's prismatic spray. It is entirely possible for that exactly to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, it is. So the Chaos Domain. It has the Touch of Chaos ability. It gives your cleric a touch attack, and that touch attack essentially gives disadvantage on all d20 rolls to the target until your next turn rolls around again.
Is that
The
what
amount of-
Daze does?
What? No. Daze does something
Oh, that's
else.
Charm Domain. I'm looking at the wrong one.
You scrolled a little far.
I scrolled a bit far.
Alright. The amount of value you can get out of giving your adversary disadvantage kind of depends on, like, how many saving throws your party can force it to make, or how many attack rolls things capable of making. It's an ability.
There doesn't look to be a save tied to this. You just
There's not.
inflict it.
You just do.
make them suck.
For one round.
You certainly made them unable to crit for a round.
They're unlikely to crit.
I mean, sure.
I've had some crits go through effects similar, so
I mean, true. We have
Yeah.
been in a situation where using Jack's rerolls is just been doubles. It's just been snake eyes. I rolled a nat 1. No, reroll. I rolled a nat 1. Ah, fuck.
Ah, yes, when Pharasma was tired of Jack's shit.
She is, judging by the rolls I've been making and judging by the rolls Thuta's been making, Pharasma is unable to remove my powers from me, but she can definitely make them skew towards suck.
Ah, yes.
I thought that was a powerful 20. One of the two.
Whatever.
So
I mean, as I always say, digital dice suck.
yeah, can. So
I mean, yeah. But at least it's not Foundry.
Well, then digital dice suck, and the system is fucking backwards.
Oh, everything is automated, but can I change this thing? No. Lazy
yeah, we're not
lazy
Foundry
fucking
fans here.
DMs.
So alternative to Touch of Chaos, you could take Drunken Autonomy, which allows you a swift action while under mind affecting magics or possession, or something similar that would cause you to act like out. You instead can just choose to be confused, and the act normal result allows you to ignore the compulsion for that turn. It can be really useful, though. With a high scaling will save and wisdom is a high stat priority, you probably shouldn't be under such an effect very often.
No. I mean, looking at Jack, it is like plus 29 will save. It's like, is it physically possible for me to fail any of these? I could.
Yeah,
nat
roll a
1.
1.
It's like, I
Yeah,
could
roll a
one.
1. Except you do have that once, like, or twice per day
It's twice a
reroll
day.
a 1. Yeah.
True. So really, on a day-to-day basis, I'm not actually being dominated. Jack is just like, no.
Yeah, Drunken Autonomy, good ability, not great on the class that it's home to. It could be
Probably
useful
Corellian.
if you fail.
What's Corellian?
I probably named him wrong. Caden Corellian?
Kylian.
Kylian, okay, yeah. But yeah,
It does sound like a
He-
Caden power.
yes.
It really does. So, domain spells, protection from law.
We didn't talk about Chaos Blade yet, my nerd. By the
But
way,
you
I think
fuck-
Chaos Blade's kind of bad. It lets you put Anarchic on a weapon so you can hose law, which is not incredibly useful unless you already know the campaign is full of Hell Knights or Devils.
Like, the campaign we're about to be going into next, it assumes we would be chaotic good, which means I assume we're probably going to be going against a lot of lawful evil.
Yeah, in that case, Anarchic probably would be pretty handy.
Not for just half your cleric level in rounds, though.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this is another one of those. We're popping the buff because there is clearly a Hell Knight signifier or something, and they are clearly the boss. So
That
I
is
am now
true.
going to put an ability on that will start hosing the boss.
And then the boss smites your ass and you regret everything.
Oh yeah, the boss. Yeah,
Huh.
you have been identified as. I mean, I think they'd be able to see your aura as well. To be honest.
Yeah, but if
Like
they
the-
didn't choose to activate their detect it, you've just basically given it away. I don't even need to detect to know you're the target.
If they just chose not to activate their at will, not limited uses ability. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it may be at will, but it does not say anywhere that it is a free action, which means it's still standard to activate.
My assumption is that it's probably active casually outside of combat.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it could be.
It's
Look,
kind of
how
like
else-
the paladin would probably say that they upkeep their their detect evil at all times because they
Look.
can.
If a bunch of Hell Knights, the assholes that they are doing their town guard, town patrolling thing that they like to do, I can't see how they would effectively racially profile you without upkeeping it. Like the average cop, they're cops.
Oh, whoa there, whoa there. Slow down there. Alright, domain spells. So, so, I don't like this list of domain spells, to be honest. They are
No.
all law hosing. And they're all native to, the cleric spell list already, so they're not getting anything new out of it. Like, animate objects is an outlier as doesn't require them to be lawful or anything. But, that's one out of this entire list. And, since most campaigns kind of skew the game towards fighting chaos and evil, generally. Mostly evil.
Yeah, we've definitely been in a situation where we were fighting like goblin shamans or this and that, and they've gone, haha, I'm going to use Chaos Hammer, and the entire party is like, we're all basically chaotic neutral or something. That did nothing.
Yeah.
So going a being chaotic yourself is going to have the exact same scenario where it's like, I'm going to use Chaos Hammer on the goblins, and then it just bounces off them like a squeak, just with a squeak.
Yeah. I mean, Cloak of Chaos will have effects against non-chaotic creatures, but it's mostly designed to pose, lawful creatures.
Summon Monster
And,
9 Chaos
yeah.
is fine.
Yeah, Summon Monster 9's fine. It's a summon monster spell. You're getting a big, meaty monster, it just has to be a chaotic one.
Which is like
Fine.
a number of them.
You're probably
I mean, here's
summoning
the thing.
demons.
Well, here's the thing. If you've got the enhanced summons, let's say you're leading that way, you will be pulling out a fiendish thing that matches your alignment anyway, so... A lot of things will automatically also just be chaotic because that's what their alignment is. It matches yours.
Yeah.
So, that just works. Unfortunately, it's a 9th level spell, so you need to be what level? 17?
17.
So you'll be level 17 before that kicks in.
Yeah.
And
You'll
judging by
probably-
the fact that the average campaign doesn't even go past fucking 12 to 15, good luck.
True.
I guess that depends on the campaign you're running, but yeah.
I mean, even Iron Gods finished at 18, I think.
We did our
So-
final fight at 17.
Okay. So even... Well, I mean, I suppose that means you at least got to use a 9th level spell once or twice. Did you use
Yeah,
any
some of
9th
us
level
did,
spells on Unity?
What's that?
So did you use any 9th level spells on Unity? Because you spent a lot of time stopping us dying.
I spent basically the entire fight mostly just mitigating.
Yeah. We were taking a lot of fucking
And I didn't have 9th level spells because prestige classes. I think Cryo dropped a 9th level spell though. Moat might have. Anyways, let's slide down the Charm Domain, I guess. Charm Domain, it gives you Dating Touch. That lets you date a creature for a round without a saving throw. The fact that
Isn't
creatures
this-
with more hit dice than your cleric level are unaffected means that the ability quickly becomes outscaled.
Wow. Way to just... I mean, dazed is shit anyway. It's like a -1 across the board, right?
That's Dazzled. Dazed actually is
Oh.
pretty close to Stunned.
Okay.
Dazed is basically Stunned, so yeah, you can make creatures weaker than you do nothing. Or creatures on par with your hit dice do nothing for a turn.
Well, we have
But
encountered monsters that are weaker than us that are just as much of a menace. The Aurum Vorax being a key fucking contender for that. So, if you are encountering basically mooks, mobs, ads, just random shit that is weaker than you, but they're exceptionally good at one job, see the Aurum Vorax and its grapply 6 legs,
Hmm?
you can switch them off long enough to. Now, here's the thing: if you've been turbo grappled by something, you're probably not casting spells, are you? So you can just touch it instead and just stun it off you. I
I
can
mean,
see uses for this.
that's a good use for it against an Orm Vorax specifically, I
Well, there's
suppose.
there's an Aurum Vorax, there's a Roper, an Otiog, anything that wants to something that's mid range, maybe CR 5, 6, 7.
Sure.
Yeah, you're level 8 or you're level 9, maybe even level 10. A giant grapple monster that is very good at grappling, and that's the only thing they do, is still going to ruin your day. So basically, having a contingency taser to get them the fuck off you. I think there's. It's not an evergreen ability, but there is definitely places you're going to be like, oh, I'm so glad I have this. Then you stun the shit out of it.
Yeah, that's a use case where it comes in handy. Otherwise, it's outscaled and not doing a whole lot. Because, like, I
Yeah.
imagine, I'm pretty sure as you get to higher level, you will stop seeing those things, or stop seeing those things as threats. Because chances are you'll be able to just blow them up.
That's fair, but it is your first ability you get early on, so it does sort of start protecting you in the early stages where you really need protection.
And doesn't need to be good later on, but
Yeah.
I don't
So
know,
then we get to the next ability.
I still kind of rate it lower than even, like, say, the tiny amount of damage that electricity does, because at least it's always got an effect, even if you're out of spells and everything. Next ability, though.
Charming Smile.
Yeah, Charming Smile. It's a swift action charm person. It's a level scaling ability.
You can only charm one creature this way at a time.
Yeah.
Number of
It
rounds.
lasts for a number of rounds per day equal to your cleric level. If you cast it, it consumes a round, whether it's successful or even if you fail. It in itself isn't a very powerful effect. Like, it only
In
makes
fact,
a person friendly towards you.
here's the thing: it's also charm person.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work on shit like fucking tieflings or any other native outsiders and stuff. There's a lot of things it doesn't work on.
Honestly, I feel the biggest thing holding this back is the duration. It's way too short for you to be able to do very much with the charm.
Like,
You
you might get a
Since
transaction in a
normal,
shop.
yeah, I mean, since normal charm person lasts hours per level, it's yeah.
The best part about the ability is the swift action. Everything
Yeah.
else is kind of downhill from there.
I suppose there is a situation where you flash them a smile. You see if they're charmed. And then any diplomacy checks with you are now steps easier. Because their
Yes.
disposition is already higher.
I mean,
I can see uses if you're a fucking
If you are the face
that's
cleric.
honestly, yeah, that's how I see my character Nofreya using her charm person that she gets as a spell. Like, as she's walking up, use it because she doesn't have to cast it. If they're charmed, awesome. Then I just win. And if they're not charmed, okay, now I'm just gonna rely on natural charisma instead.
I mean, she's right. It's fucking garbage, and I'm just desperately fishing for reasons that it's not quite that garbage, and I'm not even convincing myself. I'm trying, but I'm not doing it.
Like, it's an 8th level ability, so... Eh. I mean, like, okay, so you could use it, because if you look at domain spells, the very first domain spell you get is also just Charm Person. You could Swift Action Charm Person, request that they accept your next spell cast, and then hit them with a follow-up Charm Person. That'll last hours.
Yeah, but it's not dominate. There might be a friend, but they might say no.
I mean, just ask really, really nicely with your huge friendly bonus. Since you're only using this on a face cleric anyways with high diplomacy.
This should be charm creature. It should just be evergreen. You can fucking stop. I don't know the wolf pack attacking you by, I don't know, quickly charming the alpha or something.
I agree.
There's got to.
It would be much. It would be usable if it was just charm creature.
Yeah.
I think
if
it's
it just
usable,
just works.
but Charm Monster would make it much, much better. It would make it leagues better.
Well,
and
yes.
Yeah.
Would it be broken?
No.
Probably not.
Because its duration shit.
Eh.
Its duration sucks ass.
Well, if there's anything to lean on, the domain spells are probably fine. Most aren't available to clerics.
Charm Person. We've just discussed Charm Person. Calm Emotions. Turns off rages and it might stop a fight with a fucking raging bear or something. Depending on when you use it. Suggestion.
You can ask someone to take off their armor at the beginning of a fight, and they'll spend the entire fight taking their armor off. As long as the suggestion isn't broken.
Heroism's stealth only, isn't it?
No.
Nope. Creature touch, terminate level. Heroism good.
Heroism good.
Charm Monster. Hey look, it's 5th level Charm Monster. Slightly better. Still not actually that good. 6th level. Gaius. Gaius is good. You can really fuck somebody.
Gaius takes something off. But,
Now, Gaius isn't necessarily the best spell because the DC ain't the best unless you're pumping DCs. But if it sticks, you've just absolutely hosed someone.
Speaking of hosing somebody, Insanity at 7th.
Insanity.
Insanity.
Just permanent confusion.
That definitely picks someone hoses then.
Or, if you're using the variant sanity rules, it could be hysterical depending on what happens with their particular flavor of psychosis.
Possibly.
What's demand?
Demand is a couple things. Part of it is a suggestion.
This spell functions like sending, but the message can also contain a suggestion, which the subject does its best to carry out. A successful will save negates it, but not the contact. The demand is received, is understood if the subject is... It is understood even if the subject's intelligence is as low as 1. If the message is impossible or meaningless according to circumstances that exist for the subject at the time, it doesn't do anything. You know, if something can be forced to do it with a low intelligence, if their intelligence is 1, they probably have low mentals anyway. So using a suggestion... Well, let's say you're in an evil carnival, and they've got a rhinoceros. You could use this spell... It's a fucking 8th level spell. What am I talking about? You don't need to be suggesting that the rhinoceros break its bonds or something. You're an 8th level
spell.
You're probably
it's basically
walking
an 8th level suggestion that's also offending.
This spell's so shit. I was like, ooh, the creative way to do it. Wait, I'm level 16.
I don't think it's a shit spell because it's also sending. You can interact with people literally on like the other side of the planet. I guess in a way you could stir shit in another city.
I suppose if you're playing a particular kind of campaign, you can literally have a city on fire by suggesting that the ruler that you've been acquainted with does something real stupid. Alright, fine. It's a shenanigans spell.
It is a shenanigans spell. Also, it's a high-level suggestion, which could be beneficial if you needed a suggestion-like effect.
Cool. True.
Oh, and then we're capping it off with Dominate Monster. Which is... actually...
one of the more powerful spells in the game.
It's actually kind of a hysterical spell.
Yep. Just, I now control this thing. Who's it told?
Its biggest weakness being it's a level 9 spell.
Yeah.
You only get to play with it for your last few fights.
I mean, you can do the Nine-Tailed Kitsune thing and get it really early. I'm pretty sure you can get Dominate Monster as early as 7th.
I think that's Dominate Person, not Monster.
Oh.
And Dominate Person is like a 5th.
Oh.
Yeah. It's still a fine spell, but...
Never mind.
Dominate Monster being a 9th level spell means its DC is going to be high. And you can take just about anything that you want. I only say just about because something is just immune to mind-affecting effects.
Yeah.
So, that's Charm Domain. Next up is Community.
We have not gotten very far through this, and we're an hour deep.
Yes, this is why I was going to not go in depth with spells, but then you demanded it, and you know what? We can do that. So the Community Domain, it offers you a Ghetto Paladin's Lay on Hands, with Mercies as its first ability. It can heal non-lethal damage, and it can remove Sickened, Shaken, and Fatigued. It's a solid support ability. Unity is an immediate action effect that allows allies to use the Cleric saves in place of their own, in response to a hostile spell or effect.
That's pretty good.
That can be really good, because
That's pretty fucking good.
Clerics will have, hopefully, amazing will saves and good fortitude saves. They might not have great reflex saves, but we can we'll come back to that idea in a bit.
Well, you're probably not popping this for reflex saves because we've established that reflex saves or whatever is some damage. You're popping this when a prismatic whatever came down or a succubus is doing some nonsense. And it's like, oh no, the fighter saved his will save, and the rogue failed their fortitude save. Fuck. So then you pop this, and it's suddenly the people with the shittiest saves are using the strongest saves.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a
great
good
for
ability. I
covering
wish I
like
had that.
rogues, arcane casters, marshals. You get one use at 8. Every 4 levels you get another one. Up to 4 uses at 20. And domain spells. We got Bless, which is whatever. Shield Other, which is okay. Prayer, which is pretty decent. Prayer is like an AoE that just gives +1 to most things to your allies and -1 to most things to your enemies. Imbue a spell ability, which is you give something the ability to cast a spell. Telepathic Bond, so you can telepathically communicate with another creature. Hero's Feast, which is a good buff. Lasts 12 hours.
Good buff, lasts 12 hours. You don't need to worry about rations or eating or anything because it feeds you for a day.
Refuge, with if I recall, has a lot of text on it. Cure Critical Wounds Mass, which is decent. And, 9th level Miracle. It's mostly buffs.
Miracle.
It's mostly buffs. It's useful buffs. And they mostly come from the Cleric list already, but, like, they're kind of just generically useful for the most part.
Big note for Cure Critical Wounds or Mass, any of the Mass spells, especially the healing ones. You can heal your party and simultaneously target the undead you're fighting and make them make some saves or nuke them. It's why Mass Heal is so good. You go, I'm going to reset the fight, clear all debuffs, cure all stupid ability damage, and fully heal my party. If there's any undead nearby, I'm putting their health into the ground.
The Darkness Domain. So, Darkness Domain gives you a bonus feat. It's Blind Fight. That can be decent. So, the first power causes such a creature to treat all other creatures as if they have 20% concealment. This can be good against rogues and okay-ish against everything else. The level 8 power gives an ability that allows you to not be impaired by lighting conditions and even see through magical darkness, which is kind of niche on its own, but can be good. The domain spells are themed around shadow spells and blindness. Most of them aren't native to Cleric. They are fine. They have the ability to use Deeper Darkness as a defensive ability, hiding their specific location while being able to still target in and around it because they can see through darkness.
Shadow Conjuration is decent because it just gives you an entire slew of conjuration spells to pick from, so you can try and pull a silver bullet out of it. Summon monster, it summons shadows.
It only summons shadows. 1d3 shadows.
Yeah, fucking strength trade on hit. That's dangerous.
It can be dangerous.
The 8th level one is kind of nice. Shadow Evocation. If you need to just suddenly drop a fireball or something like that.
Shadow Evocation greater. Shades.
What is Shades?
It's another summoning spell.
It functions like Shadow Conjuration, except it mimics conjuration spells of 8th or lower.
It's
Okay,
pretty much the top tier of Shadow Conjuration.
that's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's, I
Not a
mean,
terrible domain.
like any of the Shadow Conjuration spells, you're not using it because they're only partially effective and they can be saved against, but you're using it for the sheer utility of just having any of the Conjuration spells. It could be
You get
fucking
to open
anything,
up a bit, yeah. And it gives you a free feat with this domain, so
I suppose.
it can't be bad. Free feat can't be bad.
Now we're on to the edgy domain.
Death Domain. It has more text because it has alternate domain spells and an alternate domain power. Let's get started, shall we? So, we got Bleeding Touch. Inflicts a bleed-like effect as a touch attack, with a duration based on half cleric's level. It can be stopped like a bleed. It's very okay-ish. I don't rate it particularly high, because, like, the advantage of bleed is that the thing will keep bleeding and keep bleeding and keep bleeding. This can be stopped like a bleed, but doesn't have that infinite duration. The second ability will cause the cleric to be healed by negative energy as though they were undead. This ability can be good if the cleric is a living creature that channels negative energy. Otherwise, it is niche and will rarely come up. Bleeding Touch has an alternate domain power that can heal undead. It has no effect on anything else. It can heal undead for a modest amount. It can be useful if the cleric becomes undead or is a necromancer. Oh, speaking of being a necromancer, Death Domain offers 3 undead creating spells amongst some other buffs and damage spells. The only really bad spell from the domain at base is Cause Fear, which quickly gets outscaled and falls out of usefulness, like entirely. And it has an
Definitely
alternate...
ain't the best either.
It has more use than Cause Fear. It's not amazing, but it's better than Cause Fear.
Well, here's the thing. How many DMs are sort of really tracking the HP of the mookiest of mooks? Normally people go, they're a 0, they're fucking dead. Unless you specifically don't want them to be as players.
It's like, I do track to a limit once the fight's over, because the chances are, like, I had to track because Amaya specifically has a sword that she wants to go walk up and stab them and recover her, like, panache and her health points.
Sure.
But a lot of the late ones that have been popping up, they're mostly just overkilled.
What we're saying is that Death Knell exists to tell your swashbuckler to fuck off when you just blast everything.
You could use it for that, yeah. So,
Its use is trolling.
Alternate sets of spells. Like, if you don't have a desire to be a necromancer, or you're devoted to a god of death that abhors undead like Pharasma, you get to replace the undead creation spells with a fairly decent set. Animate Dead for Speak with Dead, create undead for Anti-Life Shell, create Greater Undead with Symbol of Death. As for the spells go, Cause Fear, bad. Death Knell, okay. Animate Dead or Speak with Dead. Animate Dead, pretty okay for Necromancer. Speak with Dead, utility. Death Ward, pretty good defensive buff. Slay Living, it damage. Create Undead.
It kill thing.
Create Undead. Can create some intelligent undeads.
I think the problem with Create Undead is that then you need to have a way of wrangling it.
Yeah, if you can't wrangle it, you've created a free willed undead. Good luck. There are some undead that can be created that will always be loyal to you, but those aren't common.
I'm going to say, if you're using this, you're probably creating yourself a Juju zombie. Or you're very confident you can Tard wrangle.
Or you're just creating Blast Shadows because they are always innately just loyal to you if they're created by your spell.
True, you could just get a bunch of Blast Shadows.
Or Rajputambari, who are big fucking elephant things that are very easy to control.
Never heard of it.
Anyways, Create Undead can be replaced with Anti-Life Shell, which can give you an area of, well, it's in the name. Life can't walk in there. Create Greater Undead. Okay, spell.
You skip Destruction.
Destruction's a pretty solid direct damage spell. It's a great spell, actually.
It really is.
Create Greater Undead creates better Undead than Create Undead. Symbol of Death is an area of things below this hit dice die. You create a symbol. It kills things.
Create Greater Undead There is a couple. There's side uses of creating an intelligent undead out of a dead party member if you resurrect. If you for some reason can't resurrect them, but you can create undead, you can get their ass back up as a juju zombie or something, and hope that some
Zombie,
of their
skeleton champion, zombie lord.
hopes for their personality remains intact.
Yeah, though you can do that with Create Undead. You don't need Greater for that.
I mean, if you want to get a good base on them.
I mean, Create Greater can create some fucking monsters.
Like, if
But
you want to
it's-
create something real goddamn nasty, you need the greater.
Yeah.
You're like Morgs or something.
And there is... Fair. Anyways, Wail the Banshee, it's kind of like Destruction, but AoE.
It's Phantasmal Killer, but AoE.
No.
They changed it. Because in
Yes.
3.5 it was Phantasmal Killer.
Yeah, no, Phantasmal Killer now becomes weird. While the Banshee does like 10 damage per caster level
Oh,
to a number of
no.
creatures.
No, you're right. I'm thinking of weird.
Yeah, you're thinking
Whether
weird.
the Banshees actually just harm mass,
Basically.
but indiscriminate.
No, it's discriminant.
One living creature. One living creature per... Oh shit, this one's discriminate. It's a bit better
is
than what it used
discriminate.
to be. The last one was just a radius of everyone's clutching their ears now.
It's a good damage spell. Can do a
Damn.
lot of damage
Good spell.
to a lot of creatures.
I think this spell might actually be better than Massacre. Even though
Probably.
Massacre's got a better... Even though Massacre has a better name.
Massacre is a pretty sick name. Alright, so Destruction Domain? Destruction Domain.
God, we're only in D!
We're
Yeah,
only in
we have to
D.
We need to slow the waffling, or we're gonna be here till midnight.
Yes.
I think we might need to split this video up.
Destruction Domain. You gain destructive power. Like you can make a single strike. You gain a bonus to damage equal to your cleric level, well, half your cleric level. And destructive aura is a similar effect, but unlike most of cleric auras, it's indiscriminate. Everything's taking damage equal to half your cleric level. And
Oh,
auto
crits.
confirms the crits.
Crits are automatically confirmed, huh?
Yes. These abilities are okay since you are only using them when they're available for you to use them.
Unless
The
you're a
destruction-
complete utter chuckle fuck.
I don't think the destruction spells are all that great, save Disintegrate and Implosion, which are great. Harm and Shout are fine. Earthquake situational. Earlier spells are pretty bad. Like True Strike, worst spell probably in the game.
True Strike shit. Shatter's super
Shatter
fucking
can-
niche.
Yeah, Shatter's niche. Rage isn't good for a caster, despite being a spell. You can put it on the
Yeah,
fighter,
but
I guess, for a little bit
I
of
was gonna
rage
say,
bonus.
you put it on the fighter or something.
Plus 2 strength, plus 2 con. That was such a well spent turn. Inflict critical wounds. I don't rate very high because I don't think the inflict wounds are particularly good because they scale like
No,
the
I don't
healing
like them.
versions. Shout's fine. I'm pretty sure if I'm not mistaken, it's like an AoE sonic damage effect that hurts crystalline creatures
It's a
more.
cone. It's a cone, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah.
So you've got
Or-
a cone. Harm's just good.
Disintegrate, just good. Earthquake will cause chaos on the battlefield in most cases, but not a whole lot of damage. Implosion is a big damage spell. It lasts for a while. You can pick creatures each turn to try and implode. It does a bunch of damage.
It's basically like having a disintegrate. There's not a. Yeah, it's disintegrate, but on like a cold lightning timer.
And you can't target a creature more than once with it. A single casting, I should say.
I mean, that is true. You can't just keep nailing something with it, but it does so much goddamn damage that you can just be systematically black holing mooks.
Yes.
There's a lot we can do about it.
It's a scary spell.
It is a good spell.
It is a spell that when your BBEG cast it, you clench your butt cheeks and hope they don't pick you first. So let's get down to
Sure.
Earth Domain.
It might make it public enemy number one.
Probably. Earth Domain is very similar to Air Domain. You get a ranged touch attack, just like Air Domain, but it does acid damage instead of electricity. slightly useful early, and with how common creatures like trolls are, you might be getting more value out of it than the electricity version. And again, you get acid elemental resistance. At 6, it's 10, 12, it's 20, and 20
As
becomes immunity.
well, on the commonality of resistances versus damage, it's like fire is the most commonly resisted, lightning the second, then you've got acid as the third, and then sonic.
And then
Acid
cold.
resistance is right. Yes, cold is third, and then acid fourth. So, as far as rarity of access to it versus the spells that do it, it's pretty good. But that mostly does apply to monsters, to be honest. Because it's
Yeah,
going to be the players with a high diversity of elementals.
true. So, the Earth Domain, it offers a good selection of area control spells, and it gives the ever useful Stone Skin spell, which is normally not available to clerics.
Stone Skin, it's expensive.
It's good though. It's like
It's
20
good.
DR.
Yeah.
Magic Stone is whatever. It lets you throw some magic rocks, do a little bit of damage. Softener and Stone, it's CC. You get things stuck in mud. Stone shape stone. Spike Stones is kind of like advanced caltrops. I think that could be useful. Wall of Stone, arguably better spell than Wall of Iron, even though it has less HP and less hardness because you have more control over the shape.
Yep, you can make a box around something and tell them to go fuck themselves.
So, area control, good area control. Stone Skin, we talked about it. DR, good. A little bit expensive. Elemental Body, like 4 for Earth. Big strength bonus. Big strength bonus.
Big
So
durability.
if you want to go slap somebody, good spell. Earthquake
It is. True.
does shenanigans. Earth, like Elemental Swarm for Earth Elementals. Earth Elementals are fine. They're big, meaty boys.
They get awesome blow, don't they? They get to actually golf swing shit around.
They might. I believe that. Yeah, I think they do. Depending on their
Elemental
size, yeah.
Swarm, Elemental Swarm, being a 9th level spell, gets you the big ones, and I'm pretty sure they do have the golf swing ability. And they can
Yeah,
just
they
start
were
hitting
golf swinging
things.
you guys
Yeah.
when I used them last.
And when
Yeah.
Nerdy golf swung with his, and golf swung them through a blade barrier. And
Yeah.
that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I remember
That
that.
was pretty funny. That was good.
I wasn't particularly happy about that one.
Oh, we
But
were.
yeah. Alright, so let's scroll down to Evil Domain.
Des, do you have any opinions?
Not really. I'm just listening along.
So the Evil Domain... Touch of Evil causes the creature to become sickened for a number of rounds equal to half your cleric level. That's pretty good as just a debuff. And additionally, it causes those creatures to be treated as a good align for the purpose of your evil descriptor spells, which is also very good because your domain spells consist of a number of them. It's kind of important for the cleric to be able to set up their evil spells that can only target good creatures. You know, because you're probably not fighting a lot of good creatures. Scythe of Evil is a bit less useful, unless the command itself is evil, where you expect reasonably to be fighting good creatures. It's common for adventurers to think you're the good guy.
Yeah, this is definitely for the average party, the evil domain is definitely an NPC domain.
Yeah.
You know, your cleric or whatever of Lamash 2 is gonna have it. They're gonna have chaos. This is not something a player's gonna have. I guarantee that you're gonna have one of the edgy boys who really want it, and then they're gonna realize that it's not very fucking good.
The spell list is mostly from the cleric list already. And, like, they're primarily only useful against good creatures, which is good because you can give them some setup to do that, but 2 turns to get a spell off is not good action economy.
Mm-mm.
And
You're putting a lot of time and effort into getting something that the average regular cleric could just be doing.
Yeah, it's like they get it Create Undead, which is not requiring you to do something to a good creature, and they get Summon Monster 9 Evil. Everything else, yeah, remember we were talking about the Law Domain? Basically that.
You know.
And then we have the Fire Domain. So, Fire Domain, like Earth and Air, has its short-range damage tool. It's fire. It has its common resist. It's got the fire resistance. Fire resistance is very common throughout the game, as was stated earlier. So it's also common for fire to be used against you, or if you have fireball happy wizards in your party, getting fire resistance might be very nice for you. Like, you will take less damage from those ubiquitous fireballs. And speaking of,
Are
yeah.
you suggesting that you go Fire Domain if the wizard is a team-killing fucktard?
Yeah, probably.
Fair enough.
Anyways, speaking of domain spells, the ones that are for offer are basically all about fire. They're
Burning
mostly
Hands.
bursty fire spells like Fireball.
So you've got Burning Hands, Fire, Produce Flame, Chuck
More
Fire,
fire.
Fireball, Chuck Fire, Wall of Fire. It's a Wall of Fire. Fire Shield. That's actually a decent spell.
That one's a little bit different. That one gives you a shield that can either be based around fire damage or cold damage. And giving yourself cold resistance to go with your fire resistance might actually be pretty dandy. And
Fire
it does some
Seeds.
retaliatory damage.
Throw fire at shit. Like everything else you've just done. Elemental Body turn into fire. Incendiary Cloud, a lot of fire. Elemental Swarm, fire only.
Fire
Much
all
fire.
around. Fire Domain
So
is
really
on the 10.
It's very self-explanatory.
At least it's short. Glory Domain. So, Glory Domain has a cute little effect that isn't one of its powers. It gives a bonus to channel energy versus undead, causing the DC just to be boosted by 2. The Touch of Glory allows the cleric to bestow a bonus to a charisma roll that lasts for an hour until consumed. The bonus is equal to level, so it quickly becomes quite high of a boost, and can be applied at the low cost of being usable 3 plus wisdom modifier times per day.
That's
It can
pretty
be-
good if you know you're going to be making a diplomacy check or
It can
something in
be-
the next few minutes.
Very powerful in a social situation, and it can be a hefty steroid for an intimidate check outside of a social situation. I think I judge this
Oh, hell
ability
yeah.
very good.
This is actually pretty good.
It's
Hey,
pretty good ability.
Intimidate is social.
It can be social, yes. If you
Sure,
want the
if
guy
you
to
want.
hit you after.
Yeah, exactly.
I am reminded of, why don't you roll that more often? Because we want to end our conversation with people liking us?
Yes. Divine
Yep.
Presence, it's AoE Sanctuary. It has the potential to protect the entire party from attacks until they or the cleric make an offensive action that breaks the sanctuary.
What's the
Most-
wait, hold on. All allies are treated sanctuary, DC, blah blah blah. These rounds do not need. Okay, so it's round based. I was trying to figure out how many times you could use it. Rounds of day equal to your cleric level. I suppose there is a case use that you could get through.
It's
Would
It's
this
kinda
work
like-
on swarms and shit?
I don't know actually, because swarms are in a weird position of they don't actually make attack rolls or cast spells. They just sit on your ass. I don't think it'll protect you from a swarm sitting on your ass.
Well, I was thinking more using it as a protective cloak to say you're doing an Indiana Jones Temple of Unga Bunga, and there's a pit of snakes that you need to get across. Would you pop this and then slowly wade through the snakes, and they're not going to snap at you?
No, it's
trying
equal
to-
to your cleric level, so you're going to quickly wade through the snakes.
You gotta wait quickly.
Sure.
I don't know if it helps against swarms.
I'm trying to figure out a way to use this intelligently, but
I mean, it's
man, you'd probably just
it's
chuck a
an-
fireball in there, huh?
it's an aura that you can just like toggle on off, use as rounds, and it gets around Sanctuary's problem of having a low DC, because
True.
that's like the biggest problem about Sanctuaries. Its DC low because it's a low level spell. This has a much higher DC
I
cap.
I suppose in the middle of the fight you could pop this because you're being hit up, and then you go, all right, everybody, I'm going to heal you, don't attack them. And what the group of things you're fighting are like, the fuck is going on?
they have to continue hostilities while you do what you're doing. They have to beat your DC.
I think I'm alright with this ability just specifically because of that. Because it allows you to just halt a fight.
It's
Or
like
at least halt elements of it.
it's like good, I think. Like the
Yeah,
moment you
I think
attack,
that's pretty
it all
good.
breaks. The moment an ally attacks, it breaks for them.
Sure.
But yeah, if
There's
your
good
allies
uses
breaking it,
for this.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And like the spells are mostly available to clerics, aside from like the blessed weapon and the like holy sword. Those are paladin spells, and like they are okay overall. Like most work on just about all enemies, and there are a few that are specific to hosing evil.
Well,
And with
Searing
the
Light's
idea that
just good. Righteous Might's good.
yeah,
Undeath to Death is just fuck you, undead. Holy Sword, I'm not sure about. Holy Aura is just a good buff.
yeah, it's the good equivalent of some of the other buffs that have appeared.
And then there's Gate,
And there's
which
Gate.
is Gate.
I think the biggest thing about Undeath to Death is that it has a hit dice limitation for what it can affect, so it eventually gets outscaled.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
yeah, most of the spells are just fine.
Yeah,
Also,
I've
Holy
no
Sword is
complaints.
basically you take your sword, it's now a +5 like Holy Long Sword or something.
Oh, it becomes a Holy Avenger.
You make a mini Holy Avenger by casting a spell.
Can't hate it.
Yeah.
You can't hate that. Good domain.
Alright, so the good domain. I think it's more usable than like the previous alignment ones because the majority of campaigns assume you're the heroes, as we said, and Touch of Good is like a buff rather than a debuff. It lasts for like a single round, but it offers a sacred bonus equal to half your cleric level to most d20 rolls that a player will make. This can be very useful for overcoming high DCs, like if it's seen coming, or overcoming AC if a frontline or damage threat like a rogue is struggling to land hits.
I mean, there is definitely a situation, I think, where you'll say a succubus has turned up as part of an encounter with demons, and you are probably going to go, wow, the bare-chested, oiled-up barbarian is probably going to need this within the next 6 seconds. Because she's about to fucking try and dominate him.
Do you have a succubus fixation at the moment?
Is this how many times have I mentioned them?
Like, many.
I think it's because we're at this point where I can't actually think of anything that's going to mandate a will save the second it shows up, and Succubi are pretty renowned for going, the first thing I'm going to do is dominate that.
I can't argue that one. That's fair.
I have a crippling fear of the barbarian being dominated, turning around and murdering everybody.
That's a fair fear to have.
And unfortunately, Succubi occupy that space of that's basically the only thing they have.
I'm not finding an argument for you. I do feel like this ability will become like it'll seem less useful towards the end just because it's being compared to spells.
True.
But like mid game, great buff. And hey, like if you're roughly say level 12ish, you can tap the rogue that probably is swinging like 4 times a turn, and suddenly now their like attack rolls look like the fighters.
It only lasting around is kind of bleh, but
That part's kind of
it's
sad, but
it's definitely not something you can put on them as a contingency. They actively have to be using it, like
yes.
putting it on the rogue so he can just go fucking gang something.
Yeah, it's a great way
Yeah.
to like let's say we were fighting Black Maga again, and the front lanes are struggling to hit, and the casters are hopelessly unable to get over the spell resistance. Well, shoot, this might help you do that, or you can go tap the fighter, and now the fighter can get over the AC.
Yeah. Okay, I don't hate this. It's definitely so. It's a proactive ability that you've got to just decide to use and whatever you're gonna do.
And Holy Lance is exactly what you'd expect it to be. It grants Holy. It can be good in fighting evil creatures.
Yep.
And the spells are mostly like what you'd expect from like the previous alignment ones, where it's basically just the good version of those.
Protection from evil, very evergreen, will probably always work, for the most part.
Yeah.
Align weapon is probably going to work. Magic Circle against evil is protection with AoE. Holy Smite, good. Dispel evil, good. Blade Barrier.
Blade Barrier being a surprise at 6th level, yes.
Oh wait, this is what Trinian had. He had a good domain
Yes.
from his fucking Halcyon. Yeah, of course
Yes.
Blade Barrier's on here. It's where I got it from.
Blade Barrier are good, by the way.
Blade Barrier good, Holy Word good, Holy Aura good. Well, Holy Word is good, but if your party's also got some non-good members, you may also blow their eardrums out.
Or if they happen to be non-native outsiders for some reason, you might banish them.
Just accidentally banish the fucking half the party. Yeah. That happened to us, I think, or almost did.
It almost happened to you.
To me, because I used it. I used it because a courthouse who were accusing me of something were being arseholes, so I just blew them all up.
Anyways, it's all these spells are already native to the spell list and can be paired as normal.
Summon Monster 9, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an alignment spell list.
So the healing domain. The healing domain has effects I bet you'd never guess. That's right. Haunt hosing. Oh wait, that's an alternate domain power actually that deals damage to haunts, which is something you could use your good aligned channel energy for if you have that. Otherwise, maybe this could be a decent way of damaging a haunt, but since they function more like traps than creatures, you might not have to interact with the haunt more than once. Like,
I find it really funny that the Holy
that's
Domain just happens to have haunt hosing.
The healing domain, yeah.
Yeah.
That's stupid, but okay.
But anyways, the actual first domain power is Rebuke Death, and allows you to heal a creature below 0 HP for a rather small amount. And it's not great, but neither is its alternate, really. Healer's Blessing, on the other hand, is actually pretty good.
Rebuke Death is just basically stabilized with extra steps.
It's stabilized with a tiny heal.
Okay.
Anyways, the Healer's Blessing allows you to treat your cure spells as though they're empowered for healing like 50% more. And this doesn't apply the damage to undead. And the healing domain spells are also all on the Cleric's spell list, and they are all healing spells.
Healer's Blessing is actually pretty good if you're a heal bot.
Healer's Blessing's real good, actually.
That's actually just real fucking good.
It's like, it's definitely probably, I don't want to say it's the best part of the domain, but probably is. Because it just allows your...
Oh, the fact that it just also doesn't have limited uses. Like a lot of the cleric abilities.
Yeah.
It does.
Which means that your domain spells of Cure Light Wounds, Cure Moderate, Cure Serious, Cure Critical. Here's the thing, that's where it stops working because it doesn't... it doesn't affect Breath of Life or Heal or Regenerate or anything.
No, it won't.
No. But it will, like, cure Critical Mass.
True, it does hit the mass spells.
And since you can turn any of your spells into spontaneous healing spells, at the end of the day, this is just a way to make sure everybody is topped off.
Yeah,
it's like,
okay.
You will have the ability eventually to get up to like 8th level cure whatever mass wounds. Whichever one, I think it's critical.
Is there not a mass cure Grievous wound? No, wait, mass heal exists in that slot, huh?
Yeah.
That's mass heal. What am I talking
And let's not forget, it also does not increase the level like most meta magic, so that's also a plus.
Yeah.
No, it's just literally a 50% boost to all your cure spells, which is...
It doesn't stack with Empower, but you don't need Empower with this. You basically have Empower with this. You know, for your healing.
It works like Empower.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Alright, so next up we have the Knowledge Domain. So, the first thing Knowledge Domain does is all knowledge skills are class skills now.
Because if you didn't know
Enjoy.
where you wanted to spend all of those tremendous amount of skill points you had, here's some more skills to worry about.
And like, as cute as it is, you also get this lore keeper ability, which you can make a touch attack to learn about a creature. You get an effective roll of 15 plus level plus wisdom modifier, which is likely better than your intelligence, and you are effectively rolling like a 15 with full skill points and what against whatever it is. So you're likely to learn whatever you were. Yeah, you're gonna learn something whenever you use this ability, almost always. And knowledge about what you're fighting can be very valuable. And yeah, then knowledge skills kind of become superfluous. I mean, the advantage of the knowledge skills is that it's a free action to roll them, whereas this is a standard action to go and touch somebody. And you do have to walk into melee to go touch whatever. Oh, and then we have the remote viewing, which is an intelligence gathering from a distance tool. It can be useful if the cleric knows how to use it and remembers to make use of the limited duration they receive for it. The domain spells are all divinations, which would thematically assist in learning or information gathering, or in the case of truth seeing the truth quite literally. And it's a mixed bag where these spells come from. Some of them from cleric, some not. Comprehend languages. It's on the 10. Detect thoughts. It's mostly on the 10. Speak with dead. It's on the 10. Divination. That's like a better augur spell.
A lot of the divination spells, though, they require the DM to start hinting at their notes.
Yeah.
They also need to account for whatever dumb shit you're going to do between the time, point A and point B when you divine forecast. The party may just decide to do something utterly wild and never show up for the thing they divined. Divination has some issues. Mostly that it's hard to predict the future with a bunch of gaggle fucks.
But, like, most of the spells themselves are fine. There's nothing wrong with most of the spells.
Do you see good?
Pretty good.
I don't know what the fuck Find the Path is.
Find the Path allows you to find the closest path to any given location. And if used in a maze, can be used to find the exit immediately.
Ah, Lady of Pain. Crying, pissing, and shitting.
Hey, don't make her just copy the fucking what's it called, the spoony counter.
Oh yeah, how to
Okay,
deal with a Minotaur. It's a straight line forever.
It's a straight line for 100 million miles. You know the exit.
Good luck.
Bye, nerd.
Alright.
Legend lore. Good. Peek at the DM's notes button. Discern location. Kinda peek at the DM notes. Foresight. I like foresight. It's like It's like what is it? Prognostication. That fucking thing I have.
No Akashic communion though. Cry.
No, we don't have Akashic communion here.
No, there's no peek at notes. Super mode.
Alright, so next up we have the law domain. Alright, so we've got Touch of Law, which is a buff, I guess. It can only be used on willing creatures. And it causes the rolls for a round to just be 11.
Slightly above average. They are whelming.
It can be good, I guess. You can't roll lower, but you can't roll higher either. And, like, on a martial 11 might be fine for hitting.
Oh, God. What the fuck?
Its best case use is probably for that luck sink who can't roll better than 2 or 3. Because now they can only roll 11.
Give it to Thoot.
The lore domain is the domain Josh Strife Hayes would have.
It's the way he would. It's the. Shit, you might be right.
He would have the perfectly average balanced buff where he will give you an average roll. Not bad, but not really good either. Just whelming. Middling.
Yeah, and then there's Staff of Order, which is, yes, it does exactly what you think it does based on the other alignment domains.
Enchants with Axiomatic.
which lets you host chaotic creatures.
Which might be useful because you're usually the heroes and designed to go slap chaotic creatures.
Yeah,
Unless
it's
you're playing
mostly
Iron
evil,
Gods, then
but-
everything's lawful evil.
Yeah.
And
It's
let's
kind of
not forget the players are the most chaotic creatures.
It's
True.
kind of a toss-up between whether you're dealing with lawful or chaos. But you're usually dealing with evil more than good.
Oh yeah. I wonder if there's any campaigns where you're butting heads with another good faction who are, differences of ideals versus the differences of alignment. Because, good is perspective.
I don't know.
Someone argued with a gold dragon. The gold dragon's lawful good, but he's got a bug up his ass now.
Yep. Oh, and the domain spells are pretty much what you'd expect.
Yeah, protection from chaos, align law, magic circle against chaos, orders wrath, dispel chaos, hold monster, good.
Old
Dictum,
monster's decent.
it's
Yeah.
holy word, but lawful. Shield of law might be good. Is that just holy aura? But
Yeah.
lawful.
Cloak of Chaos, like Shield of Law, they're just holy aura for their alignments. Evil also had its own.
Sure it did.
Yes, it did.
The liberation domain.
Liberation. So, a liberation has a reactive power that requires no input to trigger, and it basically offers a personal freedom of movement for a number of rounds per day based on level. This is pretty good, I think, and I'm sure Wa agrees.
I'm sure I had an ability that did this on one of my characters.
I don't know.
I'm sure I had this somewhere on someone. Because I had the ability to suppress this kind of thing, and I used it to cast freedom of movement on myself.
That sounds like something you would do.
Frankly, it might have been... I think it was actually a Malus suppressing a paralysis and then hitting myself with my own freedom of movement from my spirit magic.
And
That sounds like a combo we would have come up with.
That sounds like
Probably.
us.
Freedom's Call, I also think is really good.
At
Nora
8th
that
level,
allows...
you can... I was reading it.
I'll let
At
you go.
8th level, you can emit a 30-foot aura of freedom. Wow. You might actually just be playing a character cloaked in an American flag. You emit a 30-foot aura of freedom for a number of rounds per day equal to your cleric level. Allies within the aura not affected by confused, grappled, frightened, panicked, paralyzed, pinned, or shaken. Holy shit, this is good. The aura only
Yeah.
suppresses these effects and only return once the aura goes off, but fuck it. Wow, what a good ability.
You say American, but don't you mean for Super Earth? Managed democracy.
No.
The domain spells, they have the theme of removing negative effects from party members. Most of which are native to spell list, but the highest three are not.
Here's the thing, once you get past the first level, and even Fear's bad, it gets really good. Remove Paralysis is good. Remove Curse. If you use it, you need to use it, you're really happy you have it. Freedom of Movement, good. Break Enchantment, real good. Dispel Magic Greater, my most used spell so far. Refuge, I forgot what this does. Mind Blank, 24 hour, protects your Barbarian from being mind-fucked. What the fuck does Freedom do? 9th level spell. I know it frees
breaks.
things from imprisonment. Yeah, it's basically remove every negative effect that stops you doing something.
Yeah.
Blind, bind, entangle, grapple, imprisonment, maze, paralysis, petrified, pinning, sleep, slow, temporal stasis, everything. And maze, you can demaze them.
Yes.
What a
So
good
anyways...
spell.
Yeah, Fear's pretty good. Roof Fear's pretty good. Roof Paralysis, yeah, they're all good spells. Alright, so, Luck Domain. Scroll, scroll, scroll. The Luck Domain. It offers a bit of luck, which, lets you target a willing creature to have basically advantage on their next turn for their rerolls.
Oh hey, I have luck domain. I have the luck domain spells on Jack.
This, like the Goods Domain bonus, can be pretty good. It's less reliable, but also offers some players a better chance to land critical hits should they have such a build.
I mean, a reroll is the equivalent of a +4 on average, but it also can... It's take best as well, so it's actually a lot better. Like, a reroll is the equivalent of a +4. Take best, I don't know what the math is, frankly. No, wait, advantage is actually equivalent to a +4.
Roughly. So
Whatever.
good fortune grants the cleric a benefit where they can immediate action reroll a dice they've just rolled. They get this ability at 6, and every 6 levels they get another use of it for a number of uses of 3 at 18th.
Man, I wish Jack got the domain powers from this. It would be extra obnoxious.
What else would you really want another immediate action?
True.
It can be clutch for the cleric to save them from bad rolls. And the domain spells are a mixed bag, but mostly beneficial, with a few of the later ones not being on the cleric spell list again.
I mean, True Strike, garbage.
True Strike,
Aid, you don't
Okay.
use it. Protection from energy, good. Freedom of movement, good. Break enchantment, as I've said, good. Mislead is good. Mislead's very funny.
Mislead's funny.
Spell turning, you've got to be proactive with it. Moment of Prescience is very good. You precast it, and then if something bad happens, you go, no, fuck you. And you get Miracle at 9.
And we have Miracle, which is Miracle.
It's Divine Wish. Slightly different, but it's Divine Wish.
Mm-hmm. The Madness Domain. So it offers Vision of Madness, which is similar to like the Good Domain's power, save that you like choose attack rolls, saving throws, or skill checks to receive the bonus, and that gains a bonus equal to half cleric level, and the other two receive that as a penalty. It lasts for 3 rounds. Like, for most, this buff is a little bit riskier and maybe even unwanted. It could be a hilarious way for a cleric to bolster their own saving throw, assuming the plan to use neither attacks rolls or skill checks for the 3 rounds. And I think it pairs hilariously with Unity from the community domain, should you be able to get both.
I mean, I suppose that's where Dez's suggestion of your I want an uncommon combination.
Yeah, like, if you had, like, Madness and then you got Unity, you would buff your own, like, saving throws equal to half your cleric level, and then you could share that out, and chances are you're passing even the reflex saves now.
We are united in our insanity.
I was going to say, you probably could figure out a way to do it, especially if you're a very culty cleric.
Probably.
It's a very, very cult-oriented insane person.
And
all culty people are insane. It is one of the defining features of a cult. They're all fucking nuts.
let's not get political in here again.
That's not fucking political!
It's a joke. Anyways, the later power at 8th level is an Aura of Confusion that affects enemies. A will save will grant immunity to it for 24 hours, but it's a decent area of effect crowd control. It's an Aura of Confusion.
I'm going to say, you can probably confuse bomb a fight, especially if you've been tar pitted in mooks and they're all just
suddenly wiggling at each other.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's at least as good as spending like a standard action to cast Confusion, which is something you could reasonably consider doing.
Domain spells, Confusion lesser, probably garbage or soon to be garbage. Touch of Idiocy, I mean, it's a bad touch. Rage,
bad touch.
Middling. Confusion hoses something into oblivion.
Multiple things.
Nightmare is very niche. You need to be able to sneak up on them when they're sleeping.
Yeah.
I suppose. Or know where they are. Phantasmal Killer. It's a good spell on paper, but unfortunately it targets 2 saves and everything's going to have a strong save, which is one or the other. Phantasmal Killer will fail 9 times out of 10.
It's a great
that's
way
not
to kill
true.
a
It's a rogue killer.
It's a great way to
It
kill
kills
a rogue.
rogues.
Also, to be fair, it is one of the earliest like save or die spells, so it kind of makes sense that it would be a little hard to stick.
I mean, sure, but it is almost impossible to stick, so fuck it. I hate it. Insanity, Permanent confusion is probably not doing much useful. Scintillating pattern. Is that a fascinate effect?
I don't remember what scintillating pattern specifically does.
Scintillating pattern. A
I imagine
twisting
it
pattern
is.
of coruscating colors through the air. Total number of hit dice of creatures equal to your caster level, max 20. Fewest hit dice are cast the effect first. Okay, so they're subject to effects based on its H dice. H dice. 6 or less, they're unconscious for D4 rounds, then they're stunned for D4 rounds, then they're confused for D4 rounds. Treat an unconscious result as stunned for non-living creatures.
Considering
Can
this
work
is
them
an
dead.
8th level spell, we should probably just consider what the high levels do.
Fine, 7 to 12. Stunned for D4 rounds, then confused for D4 rounds after that. 13 or more confused.
Okay.
So, it's no saving throw, though. That's the big thing. So, no matter what happens, everything caught in it is, at the very least, just confused, and there's not a lot they can do about it beyond being immune to it. Although it seems to say that non-living creatures are affected by it.
Interesting if that's the case.
It says on 6 or less, treat an unconscious result as stunned for non-living creatures. So this seems to bypass certain
Is it mind
immunities for
affecting?
creature types. Yeah.
Weird. That is
Shrug.
weird. I guess
It
there
just
are
says-
ways to make your spells like hit things that would normally be immune via mind affecting, so maybe that's why. But yeah, fair enough.
I think the only way I can think about that is either you're you're a agent of the grave or an impossible bloodline sorcerer.
There's other ways, but yes.
Whatever.
So
Fine.
we also have weird.
Mass Phantasmal Killer.
Higher DC.
Thing is, if you cast a 9th level spell and it targets a will save, even if things fail their will save, they're probably going to have monumentally high fortitude saves. That's the problem. Even weird's not very fucking good. The only time you get value out of it if you're up against a monstrous amount of things and you hope it'll just zat 25% of them off the battlefield.
I mean, it can be good again in like, I'm not gonna say mass combat because it's a rule system, but with a lot
Again,
of modes,
if a boss used this against a party and you want it to knock off 25%, there is that rogue who probably doesn't have the good save. That is 25% of the players that were just murdered.
So what we're saying is you use this if you want to kill Bauble.
I mean, we don't need this to kill Bobble. Everything kills Bobble.
I mean, let's be fair. The only reason Bobble didn't die to a Phantasmal Killer was because it got counterspelled by the Arcanist.
True.
Yeah.
Phantasmal Killer and Weird are so good in concept, but mechanically they have too many fail points. Phantasmal Killer is the Pathfinder 2nd edition of 1st edition. That's the problem with the 2nd edition. There's too many fail points in everything you do. Phantasmal Killer exemplifies it. Unfortunately, it's in 1st edition.
I mean, it is a carryover. I mean, I'm pretty sure this has existed like from 3.5 too. So
It existed in 3.3rd edition. I'm pretty sure it's from 2nd edition, to be honest.
yeah, it's just one of those legacy spells that's still around. It's cool in concept, and everybody's like, "Aha! I'm killing you with your biggest fear," but in reality, it's, "Aha! I'm wasting my turn casting this at you, so I can describe some cool your biggest fear, but then you overcome it."
Aha! Get jump scared. Boo.
Have we Phantasmally
You know.
killed the spell enough? We're beating the horse up.
Here's
Fucking-
the thing: Fireball's a legacy spell, and it's one of the. It's like overpowered as far as scaling typically goes. Why couldn't it have been like that?
Well, you say it's overpowered, but then like you look at the fact that fire is the most resistant element.
Okay, as damage scaling wise, it's high. It's got better scaling than other things of its level.
Lightning bolt's got the same scaling, just different shape.
It's kind of in the same
Yeah.
category as Fireball being legacy.
True.
So, let's scroll down to magic, shall we? Yield magic
How many more of
domain.
the? God, there's so many of them.
There's a lot of them. That's why I asked if we were done killing that horse yet. Anyways, so, Magic Domain offers Hand of the Acolyte, which allows you to make one attack with a melee weapon at a range and use Wisdom for the attack roll. The power of this ability is dependent on the weapon being used. It has to hit normal AC, which makes it less reliable than the touch attack options, but you do get the benefit of crit modifiers with the weapon. Might offset it. It's not a great damage ability still, but it might have its place. Dispelling Touch. It's targeted to spell on a touch attack. Use 1/8, once more per 4 levels after. The domain spells are very okay and mostly anti-magic. Most of the domain spells on offer don't come from the cleric spell list. And one of those spells comes 2 levels early.
Oh, okay, so we've got Identify. Identify a
Identify.
magic item. Magic Mouth. I don't know, prank someone. Dispel Magic. Good, especially in AoE mode. Imbue with spell-like ability, it lets someone use one of your spells as an SLA once. Spell Resistance. Good. Anti-magic field. Good. Spell Turning. Good. Protection from spells. Good. Now we're at 9th level spells, which is Mage's Disjunction, formerly known as Mordekainen's Disjunction. We have a gentleman's agreement in our group to not use it, because the second we use it, the DM starts using it, and all of our shit turns off and we become bad. Back in 3.5, most fights are start by the NPCs, the enemies, and you just firing volleys of disjunction at each other, and whoever had the most of their gear destroyed loses. No one had fun.
Yeah.
So it's got a small % chance of destroying artifacts, and after that there's a % chance that you'll lose all your spellcasting ability because whoever artifact it belonged to really didn't like that.
Yeah.
So,
I guess we can scroll down to Nobility.
Yep. Wow, Magic Domain, we just blew through that. The most vanilla fucking thing ever.
It's fairly vanilla, let's be honest.
Lamau, Nethys, nerd.
So Nobility offers Inspiring Word, which is essentially a short duration heroism spell as a standard action. It lasts for rounds equal to half cleric level. I'll again compare it to the good domain power. I prefer Nobility's domain power as its effect are just spread over multiple turns, making it feel like a better investment, even if the effect is only +2. Good domain.
Oh, you get leadership at 8th.
You do get leadership at 8th.
Leadership, good.
And you get a free +2 to your leadership score as long as you uphold the tenets of your deity. I think you should always be doing it as a cleric.
Or Divine Concept if you do not venerate a deity. Spit. Weakness.
I think you should always be doing it as a cleric anyways.
Yeah, that's what you should be doing, unless you want to lose your goddamn magic.
And Nobility has this odd variant power that replaces leadership, and it instead offers like command or turn undead and boost DC on circumstances. That might be
Romance Beyond Death.
It's also cringe as fuck in the name.
Romance Beyond Death. Why is it called that?
I think blame the dairy. It's probably the dairy's fault.
Increase the DC as long as the spirits involved were slain by drowning or killed themselves.
That is definitely Naderi. Naderi is the goddess of drowning and suicide. And specifically, suicide by drowning is especially liked in her religion.
What do you mean it's liked in their religion? What do they do? Encourage all their fucking clerics if they have a bad day, just go kill themselves like they're fucking posting on 4chan?
No, they're actually there to help other people who want to die.
Oh, they're dignitas!
Pretty much. Oh, your girlfriend broke up with you? Come on, let's go to the lake.
Let's go to the drowning pool!
Fucking Naderi, man.
You just get your head held under the water, just... Are you feeling better yet? No. Good.
So, anyways.
How do you spell that?
What,
Naderi?
Is it? Has it got a C in it? As in like jellyfish?
No.
Is it just Nadiri?
Yes.
Yep.
Naderi. It was a divine assistant to Shell in overseeing forbidden relationships among couples.
Alright.
What the fuck?
I feel like this ability, like, I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's as powerful as a leadership cohort either, because a cohort represents like a whole nother character, like 2 levels lower than your current one.
Oh yeah, you can't really beat leadership. It's the things you can do and the raw power it provides.
But
It's
to throw out the one thing, leadership is a feat, so you absolutely can just take it. So if you wanted both powers, that is a possibility.
I suppose if you're a cleric, there is command undead, or you don't get them.
I mean, you have access to basically all of these. It's the secondary effects that we're looking for if you were going to try and take all of it.
Romance Beyond Death has some. This goes back to the other things like, well, if you use Create Undead, you kind of fuck because you need to be able to control it, and this at least gives you a way to do it. So somehow Team Dignitas gives you ability to make your fucking necromancy a bit better, which I'm sure is not intended, but circumstantially is kind of fucked up. It's like, have you finished drowning? Fantastic, I have a new assistant. Create Undead. Come on, you watery tarts, we've work to do.
Okay. The domain spells are mostly fine, though almost all of them are coming from the cleric spell list. And they consist of like single target buffs and some battlefield control with a couple spells in there dedicated to utility. Like we got Divine
Wooden
Favor.
Fist. As a free action, your hands become hard as wood, covered in tiny thorns. Wow.
That's Plant Domain. What are you doing?
Wait, what are we looking at?
I thought we were still looking at the spells from Nobility.
Oh, I thought all of the stupid suicide jokes made us just move on.
No, but yes. I'm okay with moving on. Repulsion, good for making everybody stop what they're doing. And, yeah. I'm happy to go down to Plant Domain.
I wish Storm of Vengeance was a bit better than it was. It's very, you fuck up an entire army with attrition, or you really hose a bunch of trolls.
It sounds cooler than it is.
Yeah.
I wish it was better. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Plant Domain gives you Wooden Fist. Free action, unarmed strikes, lethal. They don't provoke. And, they get, like, half cleric level to damage.
So, if you're going to be using this in the bedroom, use a lot of lube. Those thorns can really tear you up.
Don't use this in the bedroom.
You don't tell me what to do.
I'm just gonna have my moment of abject horror. Yeah, you have limited rounds to play with this, though. So you're very much
like
toggling it like on and off.
Bramble Armor. At 6th level, you can cause a host of wooden thorns to burst from your skin as a free action. And
don't use this one in the bedroom either.
Yeah, no, like, most women don't like barbs. If they did, should be dating a fucking, I don't know.
It basically gives you retaliatory damage.
Sure.
Against creatures that like strike you with unarmed strikes or non-reach melee weapons. Natural attacks distinctly aren't called out, but probably should also take that same damage.
Mm-hmm.
And abilities rounds per day based on cleric level. The damage is not particularly high, being 1d6 plus 1 per 2 cleric levels, but like if you're getting hit a lot, then it's stacking up a bit.
I mean, at that point, though, you're probably just going to cast Body of Thorns and make something just repeatedly fireball itself to death. Or I guess you could have them both going at the same time and just really fuck them.
And we've got a bunch of plant theme spells here that give you like a pretty respectable area coverage, you know, for like some control, and you got some bark skin as a good defensive buff. And these are all druid spells.
Entangle
cleric
is
spells.
Entangle. Barkskin is natural armor. Plant growth is difficult terrain again. Command plants is it's a spell. Wall of Thorns can fucking host someone.
And
Asher here
can.
got their cleric got stuck in a wall of thorns and didn't have the strength or CMD to get out.
Yeah, I just live there until the spell's
Repel
gone.
Repel wood. I mean, I guess you can use repel wood and make a ruined, burning cart that's blocking something fly down the street.
Send it yeet.
I guess. Animate
Yeah.
plants. Throw plant monsters at things. Control plants. Control plant monsters. And shamblers. You just make a bunch of shambling mounds. Works better with druids because you can start blasting them with lightning spells and pump their con to basically infinity.
So what you're saying
Shamblers.
is you should pair this with the animal domain and just finish your ascension to druid.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's this whole thing is like, why does it work best with druid? Well, you get some shambling mounds, then you cast fucking storm bolts, and suddenly they've got 50 constitution, and they're probably not dying anytime soon.
Or just start whipping out that call lightning.
Well, I mean, yeah, but you open up with storm bolts because you're blasting them, boosting the con, and nuking the battlefield.
Yeah. Let's rotate down. Protection domain.
Oh, you get a +1 resistance bonus on saving throws. This bonus increases by 1 for every 5 levels you possess. Ha! This
Yeah, it's
domain
got
actually just gives you your cloak of resistance.
It's got a built-in cloak of resistance, yes.
I like that.
It could free up your shoulder slot, so you can put something else exciting in it, like a Juggernaut Pauldrons or something.
Ah, Smash Cleric, excellent.
And then they have Resistant Touch, which is its first power, and you can take that resistance bonus that you have and give it to someone else. You lose it, but they gain it. And like this can be okay if the other character is using a powerful shoulder slot item other than the Cloak of Resistance. And with it being a cheaper item, it's still an efficient buy for you.
I mean, you give it to them for a whole minute.
Yeah.
And if they don't have their Cloak of Resistance or they've got something else in that slot, 1 minute is basically the entire fight because nothing lasts 10 rounds.
This would be a good case in where Kathleen has his Juggernaut Pauldrons and does a bunch of damage with it and never turns it off if he can help it. But he has no resistance bonus because he's lacking that cloak.
Yeah, why do you think I maintain Mind Blank?
This would allow a cleric to effectively boost that martial character, their saves. You know, you can keep.
Yeah,
their
without
saves
expending far too much effort.
Yeah.
Or really babysitting his stupid ass.
And it's not the most exciting use of a turn, but if you know a fight's about to break out, give him a slap on the ass. You buy the cloak of resistance for yourself, and because it takes forever for it to scale up to +5, being, literally level 20.
Pretty much.
Yeah. At 8th level, you get an aura. This aura gives a deflection bonus to AC, as well as resistance to the 4 common elements and sonic damage. The number goes up as the level increases, up to +4 deflection and resistance 10. It won't stack with Rings of Protection, which is a common AC item, and it would open up a ring slot for basically everyone that's electing to allow the cleric to cover that.
I don't know. This is definitely a really good class if you're in a low magic item campaign because the DM really doesn't like the magic item economy, and so you play this domain and say fuck you.
You basically get your cloak resistance for yourself, or can give it to someone else, and you give basically everyone Rings of Protection at level 8 beyond, with the cute little resist basically everything. Pretty close to honor.
I mean, as for spells, you've got Sanctuary, whatever, Shield Other. Can be good because your channel to heal is very efficient when you're splitting damage with yourself. Channel Energy plus Shield Other is an excellent combo because you're halving the damage but doubling your healing effectively.
Yeah.
So that's really good. Protection from energy, the spell immunity can actually just host something, especially if it's
If you
We
know what
had this
spells to
with
expect.
well, we had this thing with Trinian in the desert where I had my aura up from
Yeah.
my solar form, which had a built-in spell immunity effect, and so all of the genies throwing firebolts at us actually couldn't touch him because it negated them. So if you're getting barraged by these low spell level but say hit dice damage scaling spell like abilities on genies or other kinds of outsiders, it can actually just shut down any ability for them to hit you with their innate spells completely.
Yeah.
Anyway, spell resistance is good, anti-magic field is good, repulsion again good, mind blowing one of the best defensive buffs, and prismatic
That's silly.
sphere. We spoke about that.
Yeah, it's mostly defensive buffs here. Most of them are from Cleric, though the last two are like Sorcerer Wizard spells, so yeah.
Yep.
The only one that's probably bad here is Sanctuary, because Sanctuary just gets outscaled too quickly. Fine Domain. Or Repose. So, Repose offers a power that staggers a creature. Living creatures are staggered for a round, and if they were already staggered, they fall asleep instead. And, that'll open a living creature up to being coup de grace if it was set up successfully, and Undead gets staggered for multiple rounds, equal to Wisdom modifier for the Cleric.
Staggering the shit out of undead can be really good.
Like, you could do worse. And, like, late game, this could be turning off, like, full attacks. Which is definitely nice, because a lot of later creatures might want their full attack. This would only really this would force them to like Vital Strike if they had that, or and not really do much damage.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Ward Against Death, which offers an aura that makes creatures in the area just immune to death effects and negative level drain. It's both niche and very powerful. You can take the teeth out of a lot of creatures that inflict negative levels as part of their attacks.
Wow, this is the most ultimate feast or famine ability I've ever seen.
Is it? It
Yeah,
either is like hysterically useful or useless.
Yep. Jesus Christ.
It's very feast or famine. If there's negative energy, if there's level drain, or there's like death effects getting thrown at you, turns them off completely. If there's not, well, at least you have the option to turn them off if there were.
There is definitely something to be said. Running this in one of those campaigns where it's Tarbath on focused and just everything's fucking just undead everywhere.
Vampires,
You're probably
whites, oh my.
yeah, Bodex, everything. Yeah. You might just be taking, especially you might be just taking a full 30% of the entire book's encounters and sticking your middle fingers up at them.
Yeah, it takes the teeth out of a lot of those creatures that rely on negative levels to be dangerous. And there is an alternate domain power for that aura. Exorcism of Undeath. It lets the cleric attempt to just end a possession effect. These effects aren't the most common to pop up. And, yeah, neither is possession. Though, when a possession does happen, the ability to just end it, it feels pretty nice.
I mean, again, it's ward against death. When you suddenly have it and you need it, it feels the best. The rest of the time, whatever. This is the exact same.
I feel like this is even more so though, because possession and effects that end possession are even more rare.
True.
So I guess this is the new one, the new most feast or famine ability.
Immediately replaced.
I have a hard time saying that this is better than Ward Against Death. Like, it's nice to build into possession, but you just might not see one happen, ever. And the spells on offer here, they're mostly cleric spells. Several of them are niche, and you'd normally prefer them like only when you need them. Some of the later ones are like just decent or even good. Like Death Watch, generally considered useless spell. Gentle Repose, very niche if you want to keep a corpse going. Speak with Undead, you can get the message out of a corpse. Death Ward, you already have an aura for this. Slay Living, it's a kill thing. Undead to Death, we've talked about. Destruction, we've talked about. Waves of Exhaustion, we haven't talked about yet, and this is actually a pretty hilarious spell because no saving throw. It just exhausts everything that's in the aura, that's in this like cone. And we have Wail of the Banshee. Moving on to Rune Domain. So Rune Domain gives you Scribe Scroll as a bonus feat. The Blast Rune, it lays down a trap card in an adjacent square. And it has way more rules and is justified for its 1d6 plus 1 per 2 level damage ability. It's invisible, it can be spotted with sufficient perception and disabled with a sufficient disable device. It's a cute but not very good ability. I'd argue worse than the direct damage tools from like the other domains with their equivalent scaling. The best
I
case,
generally don't like the rune abilities, especially the blast rune. They're just too limited.
yeah, they're DM toys. I think the
Yeah,
best
true.
case for this ability is you just had a hallway and you could bait an enemy charge down it. Then they could pop all of them.
I suppose.
And then there's Spell Rune, which attempts to make the trap card useful by allowing you to attach a spell at least one level lower than your highest to that, well, trap card, to that rune. It's cute, and it makes whatever spell you attached only able to target, like, that thing. So any multi-target spells kind of just fall out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, the fantasy offered by the domain is kind of cool, but the fact that you need to cleanly have an enemy interact with these two resource a thing that can be spotted and even disabled, I can't in good conscience say that these abilities are good at all. And then we have the domain spells, which are more thematic than reliably useful, and we do at least have a fair split of spells that clerics don't normally get.
I mean, it is definitely like we've had. There's been what was it? Word Magic Words of Power systems between 3.5 and Pathfinder. These idea of using runes and symbols and combining them into effects have been done far better as third-party systems. Both Wizards of the Coast and Paizo just are not very good at
With
this
red
type of
magic,
thing.
Rise would cry.
Well, I'm sure the reasons are is because they're trying to force them to fit. There's a dissonance between the fantasy and how you actually mechanically want it to work, and they wanted it to fit in the existing framework of spells. But unfortunately, certain just archetypes and fantasies do not do that, and they
Yeah.
seemed a little bit scared of moving outside of that wheelhouse.
Very possibly. I won't speculate too much harder on that one, though.
Sure.
They do what they do, and they've kind of left this system behind. So it's our turn to
True.
do what we want to do with them. So, I guess we can move on to the Scaly Kind. The Scaly Kind domain is a really dumb domain. Well, not dumb domain, but the name sure is. It offers the Venomous Stare, which is a targeted gaze. It's not a full AoE gaze, but it'd probably be way too powerful if it was actually just a true gaze. It deals non-lethal damage with the typical ability scaling that you'd expect from it based on what you've seen, and it causes assassination. I guess it's slightly better than just straight damage. And the second ability at 4th level gives you an animal companion, but it's limited to either a viper or a constrictor. The viper has a poison. With sufficient survival, you could milk the venom and refine it and make use of it, I guess.
I mean, I
And
suppose I find it strange that Scaly Kind just doesn't give you a range of things so long as they're fucking scaly.
I don't know. It doesn't.
Which
Viper
wouldn't
or
include
Constrictor?
dinosaurs, because as we know, dinosaurs have feathers.
I did not like that statement. Anyways, the Constrictor, it has grab and gains constrict. They both advance at level 4, and like they will require a boon companion to be on level because they're at -2 level. Statistically, the Viper isn't like outstanding among its peers. It's not. It doesn't have strength to do damage. It's relying on poison. It doesn't get the best to hit either. The Constrictor can at least get to an impressive strength score for attacking and grappling.
Is the Constrictor the equivalent to the Titan Boa, or is that
No.
actually just a
The
mega
Titanoboa
different creature?
is a better. The Titanoboa is better than the Constrictor in basically every conceivable way.
So why isn't Titanoboa in this fucking list?
I think this came up before Titanoboa,
Okay.
more than likely.
I don't know, I feel like Scaly Kind should absolutely just include reptiles, so you should be able to get your crocodile or whatever.
Yeah, it's weird that it doesn't even have that much.
I just think Viper and Constrictor's a lame fucking thing for things with scales.
At least the Constrictor can still do Titanoboa things, albeit not quite as good. And, as for, I mean, it's still an animal companion, it's not terrible. Arguably.
I suppose.
The Viper, I'm not impressed by, but the Constrictor can at least pull its weight. Domain spells, they're not really native to Cleric, and, like, a few support the animal companion feature. There's a couple of debuffs and crowd control mixed in. And there's also shape change here.
There is shape change. Shape change good.
Shape change is a good spell. It's probably a decent domain. The strength domain. So strength domain offers strength surge, which gives an increase to melee attack rolls and combat maneuvers that rely on strength. It's a 1-round buff, takes a standard action to apply, and the bonus is equal to half the cleric's level. It's very okay. It's a very okay ability, I guess. It's worse than some of the ones we've already seen, and like, especially in the case where this one the cleric can't really make any use out of. Like the other ones being more open-ended meant that you could, but a standard action to give yourself a buff to your melee attacks for 1 round kind of means that by the time the round rolls around, you've already lost your buff. So you can really only throw this on allies.
It's the true strike issue.
At least
Actually,
True
that
Strike
wasn't True Strike.
functions though, because True Strike will last the next round so you can get a use out of it. This doesn't.
True. Oh boy, Might of the Gods. This is
It's an
this
incredible
has got a big name.
Might of the Gods allows you to gain an enhancement bonus to strength equal to your cleric level. It's an incredible amount of strength.
For a number of rounds per day equal to your cleric level.
Yes.
But it says it only applies to strength checks and strength-based skill checks. Is an attack roll a strength check?
Ooh, that's a good question. If it doesn't apply to attack rolls, it does rip out, like, the teeth of it. Because I don't think an attack roll is a check.
A strength check is actually melee attack rolls. And damage, climb and swim, and breaking down doors.
Oh, so they're defined as strength checks. Oh no. Okay,
Yeah.
so this does work then, and gives you an insane amount of strength for beating on somebody for an albeit limited amount of time.
This is when we had that topic about one of Jack's bonuses, and you're like, "Oh, that's not a check tied to that." I'm like, "Well, you do use that to make the check." So yeah, strength check is involving strength because you strength to hit. It is listed.
If that is so, then that's fair.
And it also lists damage rolls.
So then this ability is kind of nuts.
So there is actually a world where you trigger Might of the Gods and you just Hulk out. There is a world where your power attack suddenly starts actually nailing things into the center of the earth.
It's an incredible amount of strength. Imagine getting 20 just being a plus 20 enhancement bonus to your strength.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. Most of the spells on offer here, they're not native to Cleric. And like the ones that are native to cleric are at least useful buffs for the cleric. You know, like things like righteous might,
Yep.
magic investment, spell immunity, all pretty good.
A large
And like,
person, good, bull strength. Doesn't stack with your own abilities.
it comes earlier than your ability though, and it comes earlier than when you probably would have a strength belt.
I suppose.
It
Magic
quickly falls out of
investment,
utility for the cleric,
AC.
but for a little bit.
Spell immunity.
Stones can see
I think
again.
yeah, there's definitely a world here where a strength domain cleric is actually just low-key terrifying force of the battlefield, even if temporarily. Still
Yeah.
a full caster though. Or hell, they cast fucking transformation on themselves through some other means and then trigger their strength, and it's like,
Yeah.
now they're god.
That one will stack, but it doesn't really need to. I think a Grasping Hand, Clenched Fist, and Crushing Hand, which are all fine spells.
Good spells.
Strong. Alright, so I guess next we have is the Sun. Solar might be happy about this one.
Praise it.
Praise it. So, Sun Blessing is not an active ability. It instead, like, improves channel energy when it's used to damage undead, adding cleric level to damage, and it negates the channel resistance that's common to undead. It's an undead hosing ability. Take it or leave it. Nimbus of Light is an aura that acts as daylight, that dispels spells and spell likes with the darkness descriptor. It just does it automatically.
Notably, it will not affect things with sunlight sensitivity, since daylight just doesn't do that.
Yeah, for some reason. Okay.
Has Des fallen asleep?
Nope.
Probably not. It also deals some damage equal to cleric level to undead caught in the area. Again, undead hosing, but at least it has utility beyond that, like turning off darkness descriptor spells and effects. And like the majority of the domain spells here are non-native, mostly damage that relate heavily to fire. It is definitely kind of like undead hosing still, but
This
at least the majority of... What?
This prismatic sphere thing keeps popping up fucking everywhere. Why is everybody getting prismatic sphere?
And you get
'Cause they're
prismatic
nice.
sphere, and you get prismatic sphere.
So yeah, I've got Endure Elements, Heat Metal, Searing Light, Fire Shield, Flame Strike, good spell, Fire Seeds, meh. Sunbeam, and Sunburst, Vampire Slayers.
You say, okay, so you fixed on the vampire slaying thing, but I think you're forgetting something else. On living creatures, they threaten permanent blinds,
Oh yeah,
which will fuck up just about anybody.
sure,
because
they'll
they
also
lose
burn
targeting
the
ability.
eyeballs out of things.
Losing target ability or suffering from, like, permanent 50% mischance.
Yeah, fine.
It's like,
I was just
yeah.
more focusing on the instant destruction clause of certain things.
Yeah, and not the immense damage that it'll do otherwise to undead in general.
Yeah.
Even on a successful save.
Yeah.
Yeah, despite, yeah, having a lot of undead hosing, it's kind of just good. Like, the spells are fine. Spells are good even.
It's probably a bit better than Fire Domain as far as just fucking up shit. I'd say.
Possibly. Like, Sunbeam and Sunburst have a lot more utility than just generic fire spell. And like Fire Seed you say in Manitou, but Fire Seeds you don't have to throw yourself. You can give to somebody else to throw, like a familiar.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think we've exhausted Sun Domain.
I've exhausted my brain.
The Travel Domain.
Same.
So Travel Domain gives a hilarious first benefit. Increasing your speed by 10 feet. Mobility is nice. Agile feet allows you to free action ignore difficult terrain and any associated penalties. Usable 3 plus Wismod times per day. And then there's
Actually
Dimensional Hop.
good.
Yeah, it's actually good. Then there's Dimensional Hop that allows the cleric to teleport. It allows the cleric to bring others along with them, but the teleport is limited to 10 feet per cleric level, and other creatures will also draw on that same pool for the movement that the cleric is making with them. And that's
The
a daily
dimensional
pool.
The dimensional fucking taxi.
Yeah. It is a move action ability that offers a cleric and companions a neat tactical maneuver for engagement and escape. And the main spells here are primarily movement based or teleports, most of which are arcane spells. I don't think there's much more to say on that.
No.
Like, flies here, that's good. Astral project is a bit
Dimension
of a
door,
toy.
good. Teleport,
Dimension door's
good.
Teleport greater.
Whatever the fuck phase door is.
Phase door is a weird spell.
Okay.
Basically, you set up a door to access a portal.
Okay, well, I mean,
Only you can use it, but you can set it up where other things can use it.
I mean, to be fair, an extra 10 feet of movement speed on a cleric is just great, and all of these spells are just decent. The powers didn't even have to be any good, and it still works.
And, like, the powers actually are pretty solid.
Look at the cleric getting a baby version of the Arcanist Dimension
Leave the
Step.
poor cleric alone. They are divine. So, the trickery domain. So, trickery, it offers, like, some extra class skills in bluff, disguise, and stealth. They can be lovely if your cleric is into subterfuge, but also, them skill ranks aren't growing on trees. Copycat grants a move action that grants a single mirror image, allowing the cleric to potentially take an extra hit. It can be used 3+ Wizmod per day, and I think is a pretty good ability, because it's offering the cleric some extra survivability. It has a variant replacement domain power that is Deceptive Reprieve, and that lets you touch a mind-controlled victim or possession victim, which makes it more broad, and allow them to reattempt the save that they would have failed with a +2 bonus. It'll halt the effects, but it also gives like a -2 to mind affecting effects or further possession for the duration, which is like half the cleric's level in rounds. It's okay. It's another one of those rare effects, possession effects, which might make it something you consider, and mind control is pretty common.
Definitely more common than possession.
Definitely. And then we have Master's Illusion, which allows the cleric to cause allies to be under the effects of Veil for rounds per level. It's a brief effect. Changing the appearance of your party has benefits, and may get you in the door, which might be all you need. I have a hard time saying the ability's really good, but it has its uses. The domain spells are a bunch of arcane spells. The selection are designed to help with subterfuge, and they're capped off with time stop. It's not a terrible set to have. Disguise itself might be situationally useful, but the rest could find use, especially later if the party's suspicious of scrying. Yeah, because like not detection makes you harder to scry. False vision makes it so you can show someone a false vision if they're scrying you, and screen just makes scrying impossible. We have invisibility mask. Oh, there's time stop. It's not a bad set. The Void Domain. So Void Domain. Void Domain gives you Guarded Mind. It gives you +2 insight versus mind affecting effects.
So a blanket +2. Good.
Yeah. You should already have a good will save as a cleric. This still might push you into the bounds of just never failing, though.
I mean, it's an insight bonus. It stacks with your enhancement or whatever else you've got.
Yes.
So. Hey.
It's probably applying. The Veil is an ability that lets you... It asks you to use single target will save spells. It allows you to trigger a swift action that applies a confusion effect that lasts for as many rounds as the spell's level in addition to the normal effect. It can be ended early with a successful will save. It gets a number of uses equal to half your level, so you do get a generous number of uses. Is this good? I mean, it depends on the effect. For a hold person, it's probably not doing anything.
I mean, if you could use your shitty, I don't want to use this particular spell, charm person or something.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got something on your domain that's a shitty, just utterly garbage mind affecting. But you could tag this onto it and suddenly it's just a vector for confusion. And then suddenly it's pretty good.
I mean, yeah, in that case, sure. Though I think a lot of the single target mind affecting effects, it might be detrimental to apply it to. Or not do much. Then again, I guess if they break Cold Person immediately, they might still be confused for a while after.
That is definitely true. It could be a contingency to their counter. Well, I say counter spells. I can't think of the word I'm thinking of. Their response.
Yeah. Like, freedom of movement as a common one for Cold Person. And all but one of these domain spells is alien to the cleric spell list, though all three planar binding spells is a bit odd, as like binding of an outsider is an involved process in itself, and not a very common practice.
And then there's interplanetary teleport, just
And
in
then
case you want to go to the moon.
or further out, like
Or
Aox
further
or
out.
something.
I'll be
It's
honest, interplanetary teleport is a spell with a lot of dreams and aspirations, but odds are you're not using it to its full effect ever.
Probably not. Overland flight's good. Flight's good. Featherfall's flying.
So I teleported to Omicron 7 and came back with a burger.
That's impressive.
I think you mean Omicron Persei 8.
I didn't want to do the legally, it's legally distinct. Omicron
Okay.
versus I8.
Gotcha.
Right. The War Domain. The War Domain offers up Battle Rage, which, standard action, you touch something, it gets a damage boost equal to half your cleric level for 1 round. It's that case of, yeah, the cleric isn't benefiting from this, but it can still be a lot of damage.
I mean, if you've got someone with 2-weapon fighting or a 2-weapon fighter just blending away, this suddenly starts to rack up.
It does. Yeah, it'll seriously boost the damage of any martial character at a higher level, and, like, as a caster, casting a spell rather than applying a buff may look preferable, depending on how many attacks your targets reasonably could make. Yeah. I think it's great, especially for a 2-weapon fighter. But if you have a
give it to
vital
someone
strength
who
build,
can
like,
use it.
yeah, if you're given to, like, Thoot, then you might as well be casting a spell, because you're probably going to get your damage out there much more efficiently.
I mean, most parties are going to have a 2-weapon fighter. Or a
More than
monk,
likely.
Or something.
That's
Or
some
something
flavor.
with a lot of natural attacks. The druid.
Yeah.
There's always going to be someone to put this on and not feel bad about it.
Mm-hmm. And then there's
Weapon
Master. Cleric has a swift action. They can take a combat feat they qualify for. They get rounds per level to play with it, and they can choose a new feat every time they activate the ability. It can be good. Combat feats are good.
Can you Iron Caster with a cleric?
I don't think so.
Oh well.
I guess it depends on if those item feats are combat feats or not. I don't remember if they're defined as them. And domain spells. The 3 words at the end aren't common for clerics. The magic weapon will get outscaled. The rest are pretty solid.
Outscaled, spiritual weapon, zone denial, magic vestment, armor, kind of gets outscaled. Divine power, good. Flame strike, good. Blade barrier, fantastic. Shit, just get power word, whatever. Power word blind, power word stun, power word kill. Fair enough.
You can scream your words at things, and they will stop in some way, shape, or another. Alright. A water domain. It's another elemental domain, so guess what we have? That's right. The cold damage tool that you haven't seen yet, and cold resistance. It's just like its peers. They're fine, I guess.
And his domain spells are Obscuring Mist, Fog Cloud, Water Breathing, Control Water, Ice Storm, Corn of Cold, Elemental Body for water, Horrid Wilting, a pretty good AoE, an Elemental Swarm Water. If you're in an aquatic campaign or you're playing Skulls and Shackles, probably pretty good.
Yeah, like,
I guess.
I feel like some of the spells here are they're highly situational for your typical campaign.
It might also be useful for that one segment in Rise of the Rune Lords where you go on a deep sea adventure.
Oh, you mean that one that isn't necessarily supposed to happen?
Unless the DM says you could feasibly catch them.
Saying
The things
yes
that
to
I get
your
to live with.
players is never the best idea.
It's a double-edged sword. It might make them happy, but you might set up a 3-boat encounter.
True. And finally, holy shit, thank God we're at the end of this.
The weather domain! Alright, so we got Stormburst at first level. Standard action, deals non-lethal damage, imposes a -2 to attack rolls for a round, no save. That's better than a lot of the basic damage tools that allow for a save or don't have additional effects. I think this is actually pretty good. -2 to attack rolls for your enemy. Some non-lethal damage. Lightning Lord at 8 makes it so you can call down lightning bolts, and the number is equal to your cleric level. You can call down as many as you want in a single standard action, but no targets can be more than 30 feet apart, and no creature can take more than 1 bolt at a time. Damage rise.
That's actually really good for an opening blitz. Actually,
your numbers will get better if it's already stormy because it functions like call lightning.
Like you can call down as many bolts as you want with a single standard action is kind of silly.
It's pretty good.
That's pretty dumb.
The main weakness being you can't target the same dude, but the fact that it's kind of just AoE.
That you can just just strike everything on the field in front of you.
It's also a little bit spammable.
That's kind of silly, but it's cool.
Yeah. And then we're looking at mostly druidy weather spells for the domain spells, and there's a few cleric spells snuck in.
Lightning, sleet storm, ice storm, control wind, control weather, whirlwind, storm, and vengeance. Honestly, that's not a. I don't like that spell list because even if it even caps out, it's something that's kind of disappointing.
I mean,
and especially basically all obscure vision. They're all going to kind of fuck your party as well, unless you're specifically built around being able to see through shitty weather.
Like, there's some small amounts of damage in there. There's like some battlefield control in there. I mean, there's also just call lightning, which you can use to empower your lightning lord.
True.
And I think Storm of Vengeance would also empower Lightning Lord, but Storm of Vengeance is also bad for everybody when it's bad.
It is pretty bad for everybody. There's a decent Alpha Strike in this, but I don't know, that spell list ain't good.
Let's remember, you can get around the bad domain spells by having a second domain that has good spells. And that's where we are for domains for now. Click. So, bonus languages towards the bottom. It's kind of why I said that not every ability is influenced by the deity. It just adds some additional language options at character creation. You know, if your cleric happens to have a high enough intelligence to take any at all. And clerics normally don't have a capstone, but there's an alternative capstone option that you could just take. And what does it do? You know instinctively if an action that you would take would meet with your deity's approval or disapproval. And you get a third domain.
And the third domain, pretty nice. But that first ability kind of feels like if you've made it this far as a cleric and you're still wishy-washy on what your deity wants, I don't know how you made it this far as a cleric.
Well, here's the thing. It says the deities rarely bother to have opinions on mundane or trivial things.
Yeah.
So, they just don't care.
Oh god, Gorum. Which pudding cup should I eat for lunch today?
Stop calling me!
And the answer is blood pudding.
Every time you ask Gurum that, all your spells get unprepared for the day.
Beautiful. But yeah, the third domain would make this a good capstone, even if it weren't pretty much the only one you get as like a quote unquote cleric. Speaking of which, there's alternate capstone options. We'll talk about those in another video.
Oh, please, free me. We've been here 3 hours.
Yeah, that's kind of why I went quiet halfway through. My brain was done.
And one last bit. Ex-clerics, if you violate your like deity's code of conduct or your not deity restrictions, you'll lose basically everything until you atone.
Yeah. You keep your proficiencies, your favorite class bonuses, but I think everything else you're done.
So, with that, do we have any closing thoughts?
I'm leaving now. That's my closing thought. I'm leaving.
Alright.
My closing thought, clerics are versatile, they can be built quite nicely, and honestly, while they are typically seen as the quintessential healer, they absolutely do not have to be. Healing is not really always the best option. A lot of times dropping some extra buffs or crowd control can really help out, whereas healing might not actually stop the person you healed from going down next hit.
No, I mean we've been in many situations where it's like, no, there's no point fucking healing you. Just blitz it. This thing needs to die before X, because then we're fucked otherwise.
Hold up, Elm has to go unkill June again. Because she refused to draw the adamantine longsword.
Shut up! I won. I won. I am not losing the mind game here. I won the mind game.
I believe I made the joke when I was playing Final Fantasy XIV. How many health bars are you gonna have, motherfucker?
Yeah. Right, I'm done now.
Alright,
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
If you like, consider leaving a like. If you want more, consider subscribing. And if you have any ideas of what we should cover, leave a comment. Bye!